I think that I'm live on both Twitch and YouTube. I should check. I'm always curious about the Twitch thing because I'm not entirely sure. God damn. I'm not entirely sure why it drops out. I think it's because you can't well, I don't know that. I have a feeling you can't restream stuff. No, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. Anyway, let me just see. Yeah, okay. So I'm live on there. Show me my stream. Oh, okay, so my stream is showing on Twitch, which is good. Yeah, I think we're all right. Anyway, good morning. Hi, Neil. Good morning. Do 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 do. Oops. Zippity doo dah this morning. That's right. They're zippity doo dahing. How are you, Neil? Did you have a good Halloween? Hi, GP. How are you, darling? I miss you. I miss you. I miss you. How are you? I hope you're well. I hope everyone had a good Halloween. Lots of ghouls and goblins. I went to sleep. I went to sleep. I don't know. It's a chemical thing. Sometimes the chemicals get the best advantage of my head. I'm here half asleep a little listen. Yay, Val. I love you. You just doze, darling. No problem. So it's so good to see everyone. Good morning. Welcome. I didn't have anything really special planned. I have a lot of things I know I can read to you, so probably be a fair amount of reading, but I don't think there's anything like super exciting happening visually today. I don't know. You spent Halloween night at a Springsteen concert? Oh my God, that's fantastic. Oh my God, that's so exciting. That must have been so much fun. Did you dress up for it? Did you dress up for it, Neil? Like for Halloween, were people dressed up, or was it just a pretty straight concert? Good morning, Oomph. I don't, that would be fun. It would be fun to go to a concert on Halloween. Oh my goodness. That seems like a lot of fun. What a good idea. No costume. All right. That's understandable. Well, I mean, it's understandable. Like if you're going to go to a concert, you probably just want to be in your concert attire. So I understand. It makes sense. But it's good. Well, that's fantastic. What a great way. Wait, daylight savings is here now? Oh, it's there? It's an hour later? Oh, that's interesting. I think we do ours soon, don't we? Don't we do daylight savings soon? I think that's... Wait, don't you fall back? Wouldn't I be an hour earlier? Oh boy, is it all backwards down there? Yeah, well, I went to sleep. I slept. I don't know. And I did other things that I had to do. I had to take care of some stuff in the early evening that I didn't expect to have to do, but I did. And then I just went to sleep. And then I just went to bed. There really wasn't much else then for me after that. So I'm like, I'm just going to go to sleep. So sleep is a good escape pod. That's my escape pod. I guess that's everybody's escape pod. Isn't it this weekend in North America? I think it is. Or at least it's sometime in November. So it must be now since GP already did it. He's in the future. Is it Sunday there, GP? Oh my God. That's terrible. But I will have the outfit, the special guest that I had planned for last night will make an appearance at the lounge on Saturday. So it won't be a total waste. So that'll be fun. That'll be really fun. November 3rd. Oh, okay. There you go. Well, there you go. Hi, Carrie. Or Kathy. Hi, Kathy. Kathy knows. She's like, it's Sunday. I just saw K and I and I went, Carrie. But it's Kathy. Lee, it's so good to see you. Oh, Good morning, everyone. Oh my goodness. Thanks for coming in. What a nice thing. What a nice thing you do for me. Let's see what tomorrow night we change time. Tomorrow night. Oh, right. Yeah, Saturday night. I like coffee. I had a dream last night that I was streaming and one of you, I can't remember who it was, but that you kept telling me the music's playing in the background. And I kept looking for the music playing in the background and I couldn't find it. And I got really upset. So I'm dreaming about streaming. Geeks. It's Saturday here, 12:36 a.m. I just watched ROHOC. I gotta catch up. They're getting really weird over there, aren't they? Those ladies in the OC. Oren's our lady in the OC, and she's not that weird. So there's hope. There's hope for the OC. We've got some good people in the OC. They're not all bad. That's for sure. Actually, we have a couple good people. We got Foggy. Foggy lives down there, clearing the fog. He lives down there. So yeah, there's some great people in OC. They're just not the Republicans. All right. I didn't really have anything too big planned for today, so hopefully we'll have good stuff to kind of come our way. But let me check the Twitters. Let me check the Twitters and see what's happening. Oh my goodness. Blah 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 blah. What is the news today? Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. He hasn't produced shit. Show me. Fucker. Oh, I can't. Jesus Christ. Go away. I'm so done. Jovan Hutton Pulitzer has presented reams of physical evidence. If you watch his videos, not algorithms, paper, high-resolution scans, enough to see mic codes and stochastic dots, and obviously bad signature verifications. Oh my God, you're crazy. I'm sorry. I'm just so sorry. They're all crazy, okay? They're all crazy. Everybody who believes that there was fraud in the 2020 election is fucking bonkers and needs to be committed. Get them off the streets. Hi, Badger. Get them off the streets. Yeah, we can just chat. I'm so tired. I'm so tired of Twitter. I really need Twitter to die. Okay? For so many reasons. Just erase the histories of so many bad people. The idiots, the fakes, the stalkers. Erase them all. Erase them from history. Please. God, I just wish they would go away. Hi, Kat. How are you? I know. For the love of Mike. I can't. Mark Meadows did do voter fraud in 2020. That's right, Max. I can't. We can't forget about that. He did do voter fraud in 2020. I can't with this anymore. I can't with the data boys. Okay? It's the data boys. Oh my God. Oh my God. I don't know. I kind of want to have an argument, like voice to voice, with someone who really truly believes this stuff. I really do. Because I kind of want to understand how their argument falls out. But I just don't want to spend precious time arguing with the idiots. Like, this is why I don't go on panels of any of the old convoy people and shit like that when they talk about like J6 or anything, because it's useless. And that is such a waste of my time to explain to them what is in front of their faces. So I would love to like debate someone, one of the stupid ass chuds like Tommy or someone like that. But I know for a fact, after having listened to them, that they don't have anything to offer. And so it's going to be a lopsided argument with them retreating into the sophomoric kind of, whatever childish train of speaking they want to get on. It'll just be that nonsense. I had an argument with Wizzy once about the election. All right. And it went as predicted. He got triggered and just was like, not able to function as a human. And they don't have any data. Like, there's no data. So it ends up being but I would be happy. I mean, I don't know everything. That's for damn sure. I know only a little bit about how we got here, but I'll tell you what, I have no problem like explaining to people how we got here with the limited information that I have. Good morning, butterflies. How are you? How are you? But what about my thought-stopping anecdote? I do care about the anecdotes. No, I didn't. I fell asleep, Kat. Did you guys have a good time on G's show? Did you have a good time? Was it good? Damn. Is it going to replay or has it been taken down? I mean, like sometimes she makes them private. I'll have to look at it. I'll have to find it. It's still up. Great. Okay. I'll take a look at it later on today. That's fantastic. That's right. I forgot she was doing one. I had some stuff happen in the early evening that I needed to take care of. And then it just kind of got harder from there. And I just said, I'm going to sleep. I'm going to just go to bed. That's true depression. When you're like, I need to be sleeping rather than be conscious. But yeah. Oh, well, I'm going to have to look at that. That'll be fun. Tonight, what I'm going to do, I want to watch The Thing because I didn't watch it last night. I didn't really watch any of my Halloween movies last night. Yeah, sleep is great. Yeah, it was necessary. It was probably better that way. But what was it? Oh, I'm going to show The Thing, the old version, the Howard Hawks version, tonight on Discord. So I tweeted something yesterday with a link to the Discord, but I'll probably put another tweet up today. But 7:30 p.m. Pacific tonight, 10:30 Eastern, etc. I'll be showing The Thing, which is the Howard Hawks movie from, I don't know what it's from, 1955, some 1950s. Anyway, it's a great horror movie. I watch it every Halloween, and so I thought, well, I'll just show it on Discord, and then anybody else who wants to watch can come in. But I would watch it on a desktop and or a tablet, I think, not a phone. But then also check your volume settings. Discord has some weird volume settings, so just poke around your voice and microphone or voice and something settings, and you make sure everything's at the top. Anyway, that seems to be frustrating for people on Discord, so that's my little pieces of advice. Maggots are indoctrinated to never concede, never compromise. Treating someone's assertion as valid that there was no election fraud is a form of compromise. They can't accept it. Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the thing. So the guy that's arguing with me this morning, this is what he says. So what I said to the guy, it's the usual conversation. Oh, there's no evidence of election fraud. What are you talking about? And so I said, here I said it. I said, there's no evidence presented to refute. You're presenting algorithms and guesses. So put up your evidence. The election was fair. You're the whiny asses. Oh, I did have to throw in that last part. Anyway, he says to me, this rando, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer has presented reams of physical evidence. If you watch his videos, not algorithms, paper, high-resolution scans, enough to see MIC codes and stochastic dots. Also, obviously, bad signature verifications, not algorithms. You are misformed. He hasn't produced shit. Okay? He hasn't produced shit. Yeah, Discord ruins the volume of the phone. It seems to be... Yeah, oh. Yeah, I would watch... If you have a desktop or a laptop That, to me, is the best place to watch, obviously. Stochastic dots? I've never heard of stochastic dots. Does that mean somebody inspired someone to put them there? I don't understand what that means. What does stochastic dots mean? Anyway, I just told him he hasn't produced shit. Go away. You know, like, literally, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer is he's a flim-flam man from way back. Jovan Hutton Pulitzer used to do a bunch of treasure seeking, you know, like treasure finding, whatever that is. Let me show you. He's a fucking idiot. He's the biggest fucking idiot. Where's all his books? Oh, here we go. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Yeah. No, you're going to need to see this. It's worth it. It's worth it. This guy's an idiot. He doesn't produce shit. He doesn't produce shit, and I hope he catches a case. How about that? How about I hope he catches a case? And if I have anything to say about it, I'm going to make it happen. All right. So this is Jovan's, I don't know what this is his Amazon page. Okay. So anyway, these are the books that asshole has written. Okay. Here we go. Countdown to Chaos. I don't know what that must be new. Oh, the silent federalizing of elections. What the fuck does that mean? Movie night on YouTube was the best, though I understand. I know, it just shuts us down. I know. I got to figure out what movies we can get away with. Because didn't we get away with, like, Charade on YouTube? There's some old movies we can get away with, but not many. God, they really fuck you over. Food Forest Bible. I don't know what that means. Here we go. Here's his real books. Okay. His real books are, Commander's Lost Treasures in Wisconsin. I'm not kidding. Commander's Lost Treasures of Nevada. Commander's Lost Treasures of Florida, Kentucky, Missouri. Wartime Treasures. Arizona. It goes through all the states. Ghost Town Gold. Here, more treasures in New Hampshire. This is crazy. Lots of ancient symbols. So he's a quack. He's a quackadoodle-doo. He's the quackiest of quackerdoodles. And yeah, he's just an idiot. He's a fucking idiot. I mean, legitimately an idiot. Anyway. Mama. And you got to see what he looks like. Hold on. Oh, just look at images. I can't find the one of him in a bikini, and when my computer died, it lost the picture of him in a bikini. But I'll find it again. I think Clayburgh has it. I'm pretty sure Clayburgh has it. All right, so this is Jovan. He's an idiot. He's a real fucking idiot. And he his look changes. Like, look at, he's all Mr. Tough Guy, but this is really what he looks like. That's really what he looks like. This is what he always looks like. He's an idiot. He's the biggest idiot. Ah, wow. I wish they had that picture of him in a bikini, though. That was a good one. Here. This will tell you. This guy. Cowboy Logic. Oh, Jesus Christ. Anyway, okay, that's America's Voice. We're not going to watch that. But you get the point. He's an idiot. Okay? He's a fucking dirtbag idiot. Period. There's nothing good about him. Hi, Peace Love. How are you? Good to see you. Good to see everyone. If I recall correctly, they differentiate between just an old movie and video on demand versus live streaming. Yeah, totally. So I don't know. I can look again. If I find one that's classified like Charade, I can do it. But I know. Dude in the suspenders, he does get around. Oh, he does. And he won't go away. That's the problem. He will not go away. Good morning, dear. I hope everyone's having a great Friday. Oh my God, it's Friday. Yes. I'm telling you right now, Neil, this guy is the creepiest motherfucking dude. Like, you don't want him near your daughters. You don't want him near your pets. You just don't want him anywhere to be found. You don't. Trust me. Anyway. Let's see what else is going on. Oh, Pierre Poilievre is deleting tweets in support of Musk. What? What does that mean? What the heck does that mean? Bam, bam, bam. Bam, 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 bam. Okay, let me see here. What we got? Do we have any good things today? Yeah. Ooh, we have the thing. Oh, we're going to listen to Gal's podcast. Is that okay? Can we listen to the podcast with Gal and Greg Olear? Is that okay? It is streaming, isn't it, Val? Isn't that weird? Like, why? I don't know. I mean, I get it. I don't want to take any artists' royalties. Believe me, I don't want to take royalties from anybody. But I never get, like, ad revenue. So, because I swear too much. So I never get ad revenue anyway. So it doesn't really matter. I want to listen to this. Do you guys want to listen to this morning? Would that be okay? I'd really like to hear this. Let's see. All right, first I want to light a joint. Where's my joints? Uh-oh. Oh, I know where. I left it over here. I left them over here. Na 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 na. I don't know how many people you can have on watch together, Val. Do you know what that would I have to give people like an access code or something to get in to watch it together? Did you hear Trump and Tucker last night? I only saw a clip and he called Biden a stupid or dumb son of a bitch. What the fuck? These guys are fucking losers. God, Tucker got shit canned. Tucker lost everything. And now he has to turn to bad guys for the rest of his life. Think about that. Tucker fucked himself. And now he has to rely on bad people who probably don't care if he's alive or dead if he's not serving their purpose. He literally is in bed with those people. So frankly, I wouldn't drink the tea. That's what I would say. I wouldn't drink the tea, Tucker, because everybody has an expiration date in the minds of the Russians or whoever, the oligarchs, the billionaires. Everybody has an expiration date. And if you are past your expiration date, Tucker, they're going to fucking nail you. Listen, Trump is crashing and burning. And let me talk about that for a minute, because I think it's very typical in the late stages of any campaign to say, we're gonna win, so I expect all the bluster and all this. But the fact of the matter is that Donald Trump, as a candidate, puts forth policies that divide people. So while the chuds may think, oh my God, he says the greatest things, and how could anyone ever complain, and blah, 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 the normal people in the country who are not chuds, who are working Americans or retired Americans or whatever, or people, they are offended by his language. They are offended by his policies. And for the quiet Republicans, they will vote how they want to vote. And since 2017, Trump has been the losing factor in every election since that time. There's been no red waves. There's been nothing since he took power. He is tanking his party. Oh, right. Yeah. No worries, Val. I can check too. That's a great idea. I hadn't thought about that in terms of what the limits might be and how to do it. I'll check it out. Thank you so much. Good idea. I'm always looking for ideas of how we can watch together and make it like the easiest thing for someone to just hit a button and then you're watching. Yes, Neil. Trump's policies also hurt lower and middle class people, but the maggots are too stupid to realize it. Leopards eating faces party. Exactly. Here's the thing. If you think that Trump is the economic powerhouse that he says he is, all you need to do is go back to his first administration. Because while he can tell you now that he had the strongest this and the strongest that, and the tax cuts did this, the proof is in the numbers. So all we have to do is go back to the studies that looked at his tax cut from the Pew Charitable Trust, from others, right? And they explain very complicated things to us people who don't necessarily understand complicated things like myself, so that we do understand it. And the fact of the matter is that what the studies have found is that the tax cuts that he did helped people at the wealthier levels, not the middle Americans. I was making low six figures at the end of my career. And when those tax cuts came out, my withholding went up. So I was a middle class person. And basically, my taxes went up. So you only have to really look at the information to judge whether or not he did a good job. He didn't. Tariffs are not an economic policy. Tariffs end up making prices for you and me higher, because all they do is pass along that cost increase in the tariff to the price of the goddamn piece of shit that you're buying. You stupid fucking idiots. Well, it was where I was, in terms of, I mean, I'm talking like very low, 6, right? 100. But I'm saying that, yeah, that for living in cities, in Washington, D.C., in New York City, in where else did I live? San Francisco. Well, of course, I didn't make that when I lived in San Francisco, but I made it when I lived in New York. And it still wasn't enough to afford a 1-bedroom apartment. I had to move when they raised the rent because it just was impossible at that point. So, yeah, it is. It is middle class, depending on the market that you're living in. So, and those are nonprofit. That's a nonprofit. So there's, I mean, it's a school, so it's a larger thing, but that's what I'm talking about, is that when it came down to real dollars and cents, it didn't actually do what he's telling you it did. And that's the point. Under DJT, it was the first time of 40 years of working that I sent a check to the IRS. I'm a sink who makes decent money, few options to... Exactly. Me too, Lee. I didn't have any write-offs, right? I didn't have any of that. Well, the USA median salary is $59,000. I understand that, Max, but I'm talking about specific markets, not the fact that, $100,000 might be really great in most parts of the country. The fact of the matter is, where those jobs are is not where that living is inexpensive. So that's all. It's just different. It depends on the market. But I understand what you're saying. Yes, that is a higher salary. But I guess my point is even driven home more by that. The fact that I had a higher salary and my taxes went up, that is not a tax cut for the regular people. It's just not. So anyway, I just think I think the facts are what really, it drives me crazy that people won't. I don't know. I mean, I guess that's the point. But I really think at one point you have to really concede you really have to concede the fact that you don't have the facts of what your guy has done or has said he's going to do that actually are based in experience or fact. And the condescension of protecting women and all this bullshit. Normal people don't think like that. Chuds think like that. Right? Chuds who want people to do things for them. Trump killing SALT deductions for those markets and now praising to reinstate them is just dumbness. Thank you. So like there's nothing there. There's nothing there to what Trump says. Never mind what Trump says, because he's going to say whatever he needs to get a vote. And that is really clear. The problem is he's the leader of his party. So he's the one making those promises. And I'm going to tell you, if you listen to every state's speech when he goes on his different speeches, every state is going to get a piece of the Iron Dome and the cars that are going to be built here. Every state. He's like, New Mexico's going to get a big part of that too. He said yesterday or something. I'm like, oh my God, you people are so goddamn dumb. You think that this guy, he is like the quintessential. Yeah, this is how a dome would work. He is the quintessential fucking snake oil salesman. The economy under Biden was praised here in Australia and Europe. There was a point at which they said we were the strongest of the G7 countries after COVID. And I'm not saying that it's perfect. I'm telling you right now, corporations need to have some price controls. That needs to happen. There needs to be price controls that can be placed or something to mitigate gouging. Like, there's no reason that groceries should be there's no reason groceries should be as expensive as they are if the shipping and other things have been somewhat addressed. If we've made up some of that backlog, we will have great snake oil again under RFK. And there's another thing. Okay, can I ask all the chuds who are watching, if there are any, can I just ask you a question? Something's really bothering me. RFK Jr. is going to be in charge of all the agencies, right? Food agencies and all that stuff. Because his goal is to get us to organic food, right? Or something. Okay. Healthy again. Make America healthy again. So I just want to pose a question to the chuds in the audience. How do you think that happens? How do you think we achieve a country where the food is free of chemicals or pesticides or other bad things? Anything that RFK would say is bad. Let's just keep it simple. Okay? We won't have to define what makes up an organic food. Let's just say whatever RFK thinks is healthy food, we take those steps. Do you understand that in order to actually get to the state of healthy food that you are cheering on RFK Jr. for, do you understand the amount of regulations that are going to be needed in order to achieve that? And do you understand that that's going to be regulations from the farm to the store, to the packing plant, to the small business? How about those small businesses making their own little shit? Okay? Boop, 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 boop. Do you understand how many regulations are going to be needed and how much oversight? Oh, and do you think it's going to be easier if you have the state doing that oversight? Is that what you think? You think that's actually a win? You think that's a win? Really? So, I just want to know. Tell me, make it make sense for me. Make it make sense. Trump is absolutely not going to, that is one thing he did do during his administration, is he removed regulations. Oh, that ended up in train derailments. That's right. I remember now. So he's not the regulation guy. So I don't know how RFK Jr. is going to accomplish all these great motherfucking things he says he's going to accomplish, when in fact it just requires the amount of regulation that's going to require, I guess, is monumental, and is certainly not going to be, I mean, Vivek's not going to like that. Raw milk requires no regulation. Is everyone going to get their own cow? Is that it? The multinationals, thank you, GP. Here we go. The multinationals that bought up so much U.S. agriculture will never go organic. Never. Big portfolio. Here's the thing. I wonder if everyone will get their own cow. And then Bob's your uncle. Milk it yourself. If you don't already have your own cow, deported. How I'm going to get a cow in this apartment? I don't have any idea, but we're going to make it work. Will the government be making milking stations for us? I get it. It makes sense. Now it all makes sense. Now I get it. Deported. Maggie's taken straight from the teat. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. I can't. Not Tucker sounds like such a stereotypical. It does, doesn't it? It does. They're exuberant. Yeah. The udders is hard. The udder's a little tougher. Sometimes. Only the big mouths survive. I can't. I'm sorry. All right. Well, I want to listen to this great podcast. This is great. I'm so happy. This is great. Okay, so we're gonna listen. It's an hour and 33, and we're gonna do it. We don't care. We're here for a long time, not a good time. I mean, a good time, not a long time. It doesn't have to make sense or be logically consistent. It's true. You're right. If it smells like lib owning, they're on it. You're absolutely right, Max. This is not an argument to be had, really, right? But I'm going to tell you, if you're going to sit around on YouTube and spout bullshit about Trump being so great, come on my show. Come on my show and talk to me about how Trump is so great. I want to know. I really want to know. Let's do it. Let's do this. I'll have a debate. Sure. I don't care. What do I care about? Okay. I'm going to play this and we might take a break or something like that. But I really want to hear this. So this will be good. Okay. Here we go. No.
Have you met All Modern? All Modern brings you the best of modern furniture and decor. And right now through November 20th, you'll score up to 50% off during their early access to Black Friday sale. Prep your space for holiday hosting with deals on cozy beds, modern tabletop essentials, and more. All on sale at All Modern. Then get them delivered for free in days. You heard that right. Days. That's modern made simple.
Now you can
Shop
see
All
the
Modern's
fire.
early access to Black Friday sale now through November 20th at allmodern.com.
All modern, all modern, all modern. We get it.
MSW Media.
He's like the walking embodiment of a meme. I feel like he just lives, like he is a meme.
PREVAIL – це щотижнева програма про політику.
L'histoire, la sécurité nationale.
Crimen organizado, dinero sucio.
Глобальну корупцію та боротьбу за демократію.
Y ahora,
А тепер
Et maintenant,
con ustedes, su anfitrión,
Greg Olear.
In the archives on Trump, Russia, Putin, the Supreme Court, and much, much more. Every piece at PREVAIL is free to read and always will be. No paywalls ever. Your generous support keeps it that way. Subscriptions are just $6 a month, $55 a year. Visit gregolear.substack.com to learn more. Gal Suburban is an open source intelligence researcher extraordinaire. She's helped countless investigators, journalists, politicians, and concerned citizens understand the threats to our national security presented by right-wing chaos agents, corrupt Floridians like Matt Gaetz, the Mike Flynn, Ivan Raiklin network, and other anti-democratic forces. She's also the most frequent guest on this fine program. This is the last episode of PREVAIL before Election Day. Next week, we will know who the next president of the United States will be, and we will know that it will be Kamala Harris. It's been a very stressful, anxiety-ridden couple of weeks now. I think, into this home stretch, everybody that I know is anxious. Everybody that I know is sick of everything. Everybody that I know just wants the damn thing to be over. And I am with you. I cannot wait. One way or the other, we just want to know what happens so we can prepare and stop being in this horrible limbo. I have been holding these two different and wildly divergent outcomes in my brain for too long. I'm sick of it. I just want to know. I want closure. That's what I want. Now, people are panicking. I get that. People are on edge. I get that too. I am also full of anxiety. We all are. And with good reason, because this is the most consequential election in this country since 1860. It is. Because if Trump wins, he's going to radically transform the country. It will be unrecognizable by July 4th, and it will suck for everybody who isn't one of his asshole oligarchs. That's why Elon Musk is out there. It's not because he likes Trump. It's because he wants control of everything. He wants the government to stop looking into all of these claims against his various companies and entities and stuff like that. Just like Trump wants all of the cases, the criminal cases against him to just magically vanish, which is what will happen in a second Trump term. Now, none of us want that to happen. It seems like even Trump doesn't want it to happen. In just the last, 5 days, he's had this Nazi rally at Madison Square Garden, which again, I think everybody knows this at this point. The American Nazi Party had a rally at Madison Square Garden in 1939, a pro-Hitler rally in 1939 at MSG. And this seems to me to be just Trump, channeling Hitler like he does. I know that the Hitler stuff is overblown and people are like, but he is. He actually, he likes Hitler. He actively compares himself to Hitler. He says he wants generals that were more like Hitler's generals, not understanding or comprehending or wanting to face the fact that Hitler's generals all hated Hitler and tried to kill him. That's who this guy is. He's a hateful, horrible Nazi. He is a Nazi. Of course, all of this Nazi shit, all that anybody's talking about after the hate rally was this one horrible insult comics bad joke about Puerto Rico. And with good reason, horrible joke, terrible taste. What the hell is this doing at a political rally of any kind? And I hope it does turn the election. Since then, all this weird stuff about garbage has gone around. I guess Biden said something. I think Biden was trying to denounce what the comedian said and sort of intimated that the MAGA people were garbage, which they are. But, Biden's supposed to not say that. So now Trump and his people have reclaimed the word garbage. And it's like, again, it's Halloween as I'm recording this. Trump was dressed as what he thinks a garbage man wears, which I'm usually not up quite early enough or outside to see garbage men, but they don't usually have white collar shirts and red ties on. But anyway, he kind of half-assed the Halloween costume here. And he got into a garbage truck emblazoned with his name on the side, Trump, and little Trump flags.
Max.
He had a lot of problems walking to the truck, opening the door of the truck, and climbing into the truck, which nobody seemed to notice. Everyone wants to think on his side that he's this
it was the fancy
avatar
shoes
of tough, rough, masculine energy and all this stuff, when actually he's not. He's not that at all. Again, I think there's a weird perception issue here. Like even the photo of him at the assassination attempt or whatever that was in Butler, PA. I just think that whole thing, he looks ridiculous. I think he looks like a little baby, like a child who's having a tantrum and is upset about something. And MAGA just wants him to look like the second coming of Teddy Roosevelt. And the same thing with this garbage truck thing. He doesn't look like some blue collar cool guy. He looks like, he looks like somebody who is too old to be dressing up for Halloween. Let's just leave it at that. I don't want to say what I think he really
Kathy
looks like.
Trump
but,
trash one. That's so good.
I don't understand how any objective human can look at that video and be like, that's my guy. That's the cool guy. He's like Rambo or some shit. Because he's not. He's not like Rambo. He's a buffoon. He's a joke. I mean, right? We know this now. He's a joke. Everyone thinks he's a joke because he's a joke. Meanwhile, Kamala had 75,000 people go see her at the Ellipse in Washington, D.C. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people. And I made the mistake of turning on CNN. It was on literally for 20 seconds. And again, they have 8 million people sitting around a table talking. And it's like, I hate this so much. Anderson Cooper, I decided I just despise this guy now. I hate him so much. I never want to see him again. Somebody on the panel, okay, and it happens to be the minute that I turn this on, they're talking about, because I turn it on because I want to see the damn people at the Ellipse where one of the major political presidential candidates is giving a huge speech, right? Which seems like news and something that should be on CNN. But we're not watching that. We're watching 8 dipshits around a table. And they cut to one guy. I don't know who this guy is. And all I hear is him saying, well, I don't think that this is going to move the needle much for Kamala Harris. And I almost broke the TV. I was so mad. You know, the media just sucks. They suck so bad. They really do. And I don't know what else to say. It's so angry making. I'm going to enjoy it on Tuesday.
Yeah, it just started, Jay.
All these assholes at CNN have to face the reality that their guy lost. Just like all the other fucking MAGA assholes, that their guy lost. So that's what's going to happen. So I want to go through it. I know people are really upset and nervous and anxious and are terrified that he's going to win again. So, you know, and don't get me wrong, I have my anxieties also. You know, it's not like I'm not thinking about this. But I did a little analysis last week at Prevail, which again, if you don't subscribe to Prevail, please do. I've got lots of stuff going back to 2019 about all kinds of things. I update it 3 times a week. It's good. Go check it out. Anyway, on Friday, I wrote a piece kind of analyzing what I see happening with regards to the Electoral College and Kamala's chances, right? Because I wanted to know. I didn't want to look at the fucking polls anymore. Because that's another thing that's completely crazy making, you know? Well, the poll says, what's the new poll? What's it look like in Pennsylvania? It's maddening. And I think they do this intentionally, like, you know, just to drum up suspense. And it's fucking really annoying and pisses me off. Anyway, I remember the night before the 2004 election, John Zogby, who was kind of the Nate Silver of the time, went on, I can't remember what late night show it was. And he said, John Kerry is going to win tomorrow. I've looked at the polls and I've concluded it's in the bag. John Kerry is going to win. John Kerry did not win. So John Zogby was wrong. The polls were wrong. That's the problem with polls. You know, they're wrong a lot of the time. And they're only designed to show a single moment in time. That's all they do. There's snapshots of a moment in time. There's nothing more than that. And we don't know what was asked. There's lots of things we just don't know. We don't know who was asked. We don't know any of this stuff. Well, we polled undecided voters. Who the fuck is still undecided at this point? Really? If you're undecided, just stay home. If you're too stupid to know the difference between these two, maybe you shouldn't. You should sit this one out.
Yes.
Anyway, I wanted to go through the numbers. Okay. So I'm going to do this for you here quickly. Now, she's got to get to 270 electoral votes to win the White House. To win the presidency, she needs 270 electoral votes. And she's going to start off with 208 right off the bat, okay? She's going to win all of the West Coast, including Hawaii. She's going to win all of the Northeast, except there's one stray vote in Maine where the racists are. She's going to win Illinois. She's going to win Colorado. And she's going to win that little one vote in Nebraska where all the cool people in Nebraska live. So that's her firewall. And Minnesota. She's going to win Minnesota. Tim Walz isn't going to lose the state of Minnesota. Okay. And Trump starts off with 219 votes in the bag because it's like, you know, he starts off with a few more because it's like driving off the ladies' tee in golf. Okay. So there's 111 electoral votes up for grabs. She needs 270. Okay. You with me here so far? All right. Now, I did a whole analysis of how the various states voted this century. Okay. For Florida, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, Michigan, Virginia, Arizona, Wisconsin, Nevada, New Mexico. I looked, how did they vote in 2000, 2004, 2008, 2012, 2016, 2020, and how they're projected to vote this time. Okay. Went through all this. I looked at it. So remember, 2000, very close, Bush v. Gore. 2004, Bush wins re-election. 2008, Obama kicks ass. 2012, not as much enthusiasm for Obama, but still a comfortable win. 2016, the election where Trump cheats and Hillary loses. And then last time, Biden kicks his ass, right? That's what's happened. So I'm looking at all the states, and I'm going to go through right now and hopefully make you feel better. Now, first up is Virginia, okay? I know there was the Supreme Court case in Virginia where they threw out 1,600 votes. The Supreme Court did because they're coup leaders in the bag for Trump also. I don't see how that's any different fundamentally than the guy running around burning ballots in these drop boxes, but whatever. Virginia, it's good for Democrats. The governor there, this guy Youngkin, is kind of a J.D. Vance level prick. He's anti-choice. Dobbs is on the ballot. Democrats haven't lost the state in 20 years. Virginia is considered likely blue. I mean, so she's going to win Virginia, okay? That brings her up to 221 electoral votes. Then we go to Mexico. Not Mexico, New Mexico. Reliably Democratic. Only went red once. That was in 2004, which was 20 years ago, pre-Trump, right? So New Mexico was blue in 2016. It was blue in 2020. We think it's going to go red now. Why? Now, 5 more votes. That brings Kamala up to 226. Okay, so that brings us to Michigan. And again, the only time Michigan hasn't gone blue was 2016. And that was a weird election where there was Russian fuckery and Jim Comey and all this other stuff. And even then, Trump barely won. He barely squeaked by in Michigan. Okay. We know Michigan's cool with women in power.
Yeah, it was.
They got Big Gretch.
Nice.
They've got, the Secretary of State and the Attorney General. They're all
He was kicked out of Albuquerque itself. He had to go to a hangar in emergency.
United Auto Workers president Sean Fain is there. He's awesome. He loves Kamala. He hates Trump. And I mean, Trump used Detroit as a punchline. Right? He was like, well, the rest of the country is going to be like Detroit. Why would you think Trump would win Michigan? Why? He lost last time. He's going to win this time? Come on. That's 15. Now we're up to 241. We move to Wisconsin. Same deal. It's gone blue in every election other than 2016. And then it barely squeaked by because, again, it's Hillary, it's election fuckery, it's Russians, it's Jim Comey, whatever you want to blame it on. It's a very, very, very narrow margin. And then Trump loses there to Biden in 2020. Why would we think that Trump would somehow win there now? Kamala is popular. People love her. Last time with Biden, we were voting against Trump. We weren't really voting for Biden. This time we're voting against Trump and for Kamala. So, that's 10 more. We're up to 251. Remember, 270 is all we need. We're up to 251. And we head to Nevada. There's a lot of Puerto Ricans in Nevada, by the way. I've read. And the Puerto Rican community is rightly outraged at what happened at this hate rally, this Nazi thing on Sunday. So anyway, Trump has never won Nevada. It didn't even win Nevada in 2016. So why do we think he's going to win Nevada now? Why? Because he bankrupted 2 casinos? Come on. Harris is going to win Nevada. That's 6 more. She's 257.
I don't know.
And
no tax on tips.
Pennsylvania. Critical state. I think if Donald doesn't win Pennsylvania, he's screwed. Which is why Elon Musk, who's basically his ersatz running mate and unofficial campaign manager, and I think handler maybe at this point, because we know Elon Musk talks to Putin all the time. So it just goes from Putin to Musk to Trump. It's the human centipede now, right? That's how it works. So and Musk is so desperate. He's like literally giving people $1 million to go vote, basically, or not, or whatever it is. He's throwing money at people to try to get them to register to vote in the hopes that they vote for Trump. It's illegal. And then I don't think it's working that well from what I've read, the ground game. I mean, Trump doesn't have a ground game, right? We understand this. Kamala Harris has the best ground game ever. Trump doesn't have one. He used all the money from the RNC on his legal bills and, I don't know, gave it to Laura Trump or some shit. So what's happening now is that he's outsourced his ground game to Elon Musk, who, despite running 18 companies, has plenty of time in his busy day to do this shit.
He's in Pennsylvania all the time now.
Musk doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't. He's hired these other subcontractors and they're running around and a minimum wage worker knocking the door for a candidate they don't believe in is not going to, change minds and hearts. It's just not. So again, Pennsylvania has only gone red once this century. That was in 2016. Narrow margin.
I think
The
with
governor,
Josh Shapiro, it'll be blue.
Is a popular Democrat. He's a rising star. He's a young, energetic guy. He was on the short list for VP candidates. He's been campaigning hard for Harris. And Trump has been already complaining about all the irregularities in Pennsylvania, how they're cheating and this and that. He's doing that because he knows he's losing Pennsylvania. Okay, he wouldn't be honed in on Pennsylvania unless he thought he was going to lose Pennsylvania. Okay, and finally, this is a state where Trump got shot at by one of his own followers. Why do we think he's going to win Pennsylvania? He ain't. That's 19. Now she's at 276. Game over. She already won. Okay? Just those states, she won. It's over. 276. And that doesn't even count other states, because there are other states at play. There's Georgia, which we, won last time, right? Yeah, Biden won the state in 2020. It was a huge turnout there to get the 2 senators in, as you recall. So we know
Neil.
Georgia has this amazing get out the vote.
I hope Elon is going to take a big fall for all of this
it's going to
nonsense.
continue down the blue path, or it's going to go back into the forces of evil? I mean, it could go either way, but I think maybe she wins this one too. That brings her to 292. Then there's North Carolina. North Carolina again. Obama won in 2008. It's been red since then. The margin of victory keeps decreasing. The demographics have changed a lot in North Carolina. There's a lot more young people who live in the
Paul
hip
J.
city sections
Good morning,
of North Carolina who
commie
are
fascist
far more
libtards.
liberal than, who lived there before. We don't know how the horrible hurricane and the impact of it is going to affect voting in the western part of the state. It's run by the Democratic Party chair of North Carolina is Anderson Clayton, who's 26 years old, and she's really, really good at the job. She's been on Lawrence O'Donnell a bunch of times, and they only put you on Lawrence O'Donnell if they think you're going to win, okay? Also, the guy running for governor of North Carolina as a Republican, the guy Trump endorsed, is Mark Robinson. Remember him? He's the gross guy who allegedly has the huge porn addiction, and he's a slavery enthusiast. And Trump said he was great. So, I think North Carolina may also be in play. That pushes her over 300. That brings her to 308 if she wins North Carolina and Georgia also. So that's a lot. That's far removed from what she needs at 270. So you can go back and say, oh, maybe she doesn't win Nevada or whatever. You can do that. She still has enough votes to win. And there's other states in play. Arizona. Trump squeaked by in 2016 and he lost Arizona in 2020. Arizona is John McCain country. And I think that the article in The Atlantic detailing all of the horrible, horrible ways Trump has been to the military, including McCain, is really going to matter there specifically. That's what I think. That's 11 more electoral votes. And there's other states. I mean, Florida, is Florida in play? Nadine Smith was on the 5-8 last week or 2 weeks ago. She lives in Florida. She knows what she's talking about. And she says, yeah, maybe it is kind of in play. I mean, Florida always used to be purple. We all thought Hillary Clinton was going to win Florida in 2016, right? It's trending the wrong way. Trump picked up votes in 2020. I get it. The margin was more. But on the other hand, DeSantis is really unpopular. His Ministry of Education overlord, this guy named Chris Rufo, has ruined the college system there, just ruined it. And we don't know about the pandemic either. A lot of the anti-vax Trumpy people,
I think it might be back to purple.
Who didn't get vaxxed,
Excellent.
Who didn't believe in masks and all that stuff, lived in Florida. How many of them are dead and won't be able to vote for him again? I hate to get morbid here, but it's true. We have to look at that also. There's pro-Harris energy in the villages, which is just an outpost of MAGA.
Oh my God, that's terrible.
So what does that mean? Is that an indicator of something? And then you have Biden and the administration there handling the hurricane stuff well, and DeSantis fucking it up. There's a huge homeowners insurance problem in Florida right now that DeSantis and the Republicans have done nothing to help, nothing to fix. So there's anger there, and there should be. And Rick Scott is running also, and as senator, so that's a big race for them for the Senate. Now, say what you will about Ted Cruz. At least Ted Cruz doesn't look evil. Like, if you met him and you didn't know who he was at all, and you just met him at some
that's
event,
intense.
let's say you met him at parent-teacher night or something, you wouldn't hate him necessarily, not by looking at him. Rick Scott looks evil. He looks like a villain from a comic book. He looks like the evil motherfucker that he is. So could Florida be in play? I don't know. Would you be surprised if Kamala won Florida? Because I wouldn't be. Remember, we're voting for her and against Trump. Last time we were only voting against Trump. This time it's both things. And we're also voting against Dobbs. And I'm telling you, that is important. This election is about abortion. The white dudes who, are in charge of the media by and large have lost interest in this. They don't care about this. They don't think it's fun to write about. They don't want to talk about it. That doesn't matter. Just because some fucking Brett Stevens at the New York Times doesn't want to write about the impact of the Dobbs decision on the election doesn't mean there's not going to be an impact of the Dobbs decision on the election. Because let me tell you, there's going to be a huge impact here. There just is. Every time it's been on the ballot, it's won resoundingly. Even in Kansas, it won resoundingly. In Kansas, okay? They have a Democratic governor now in Kansas. What does that mean? If they can elect a Democratic governor, they could possibly elect a Democratic president.
That's right. He did call himself a black Nazi or something like that.
There's a veteran GOP senator.
I don't know what the
from
slavery
Kansas
part is.
who
I just
endorsed
didn't
Kamala.
pay attention to all the details of the Mark Robinson.
Could she win Kansas? I don't know. Maybe.
Baloney.
She could win Iowa. She could win Ohio, where the Haitian immigrants are not eating the pets. She could win Alaska. I don't know. She could even win Texas. If everybody voted in Texas, she probably would. So here's the reality of the situation. I get it. I don't want to give anybody false hope, okay? I'm anxious too. We're all anxious. We all have PTSD from 2016. And, for the last bunch of times, really since Bill Clinton in 96, we've seen a lot of elections that have been close and or weird. And look, I'm not one of the Nates. I'm not Nate Silver. I'm not Nate Cohn. I'm not a data guy. I screw up basic math on my site all the time. But law of averages, man. And law of averages says we're due for another 2008, a good old-fashioned blowout. So if things break as they should, this will be over by 11:02 on the East Coast.
I hadn't heard
said
that
9:02
one.
in the piece. I couldn't remember, but it's actually 11:02. That's when they'll call California, Oregon, and Washington for Kamala, and it'll be over. It'll be over. She's going to win. And I'm not jinxing it, guys. This isn't a jinx. I don't have the power to jinx it by saying that she's going to win. I'm speaking it into existence. Here's the reality. Donald Trump should hold his election night party at Ivana's golf course gravesite because he's going to get buried. Now, what happens after the election? That's something else entirely.
That's
and
a
that's
big
why
deal, Max.
I wanted to have Gal Suburban on to
Seen
discuss
a lot less Trump signs
what we
flags
think
around my
might
deep
come
red 70%
and what
Trump
the
counting.
right-wing
That's a big deal.
have been up to.
Because
and what the
flags do
schemes
vote.
are, and who the players are. Gal, as you know, has been
There's
on
as
my
much
show
chance
more
of
than
the
any other
flag
guest.
voting as that.
She knows everything about everything, and I was like, I have to talk to her and have her on the episode before the election so that people know what to expect and all the dirty tricks and
He's
the
such a bad
scheming
person.
and
Like,
the
just
bullshit
without
that we can
knowing all that,
expect in the
Mark
days
Robinson
and
was
weeks
a
after
dick.
the election. So I've prattled on very long, but I wanted to today because I wanted to get this out and hopefully allay everybody's freak out a little bit. So without further ado, we'll be right back with Gal Suburban. This public service announcement is an election day guide for Trump voters. Campaign apparel is not allowed in polling places. Remember to throw your MAGA hat in the garbage before you enter. Campaign signs and banners are prohibited in the proximity of the polling place. Leave your pickup truck with the swastika flags at home. You're more likely to get struck by lightning and die than for any voter fraud to occur. But when it does, it's always someone who tried to vote for Trump twice. Remember, one citizen, one vote. Local law enforcement does not need your help identifying illegal immigrants at the polling places because illegal immigrants
I
don't
know it's
vote,
cold
except
today
for
here
Elon
in
Musk.
LA.
Finally, if things don't go your way, it's not because the election was rigged. No one stole your vote. You lost because your candidate is a rapist piece of Kremlin shit who sucks ass. Now get out there and vote. Gal Suburban, welcome back to Prevail.
Hey, Greg.
It's nice to see you. As longtime listeners know, you were the most frequent guest that I've had on this show. So I wanted you to come on. We're recording this on October 26th, which is 10 days before the election. People listening to it, it'll be on Friday. I think it's November 1st, which is 4 days before the election. So there's an election coming up. And I thought in the last lead-in episode, I wanted to talk to you and just kind of go over a whole bunch of things and see where your head is at and what you think we should kind of be focusing on. And, you know, are there any malevolent players that we're not maybe aware of that we should be more aware of? How do you think the media is doing? You know, stuff like that. So first of all, just how are you feeling? How are you doing? How confident are you that Kamala is going to pull this out? You're wearing a Harris Walsh camo hat. People can't see.
Yes.
It's very cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, you know, my jacket from multiple times on the Prevail, I got that in the mail. Thank you. No, I think I have to kind of talk myself into the confidence I think that we should have. Just, you know, I guess the information environment doesn't really, you know, help us become more confident. So sometimes I have to step back from that and say, actually, I think we're okay. I think our message is good. I think our pro-democracy stance is resonating. And I just don't think the majority of the population really wants, you know, dictatorship. I really don't. I think it's a much smaller section of, you know, the country than they seem to be. You know, we've talked before about insurgencies and kind of terrorist organizations and how they manipulate their kind of presence by making themselves seem a lot bigger than they are. And I think that's similar to kind of what we see right now. They dominate social media streams. They're able to kind of, you know, manipulate media into chasing stories that aren't really, you know, worth looking at. So I just think they have an ability to kind of manipulate our emotional kind of state of where we're at and our level of confidence. And so I try and not let them dictate how I feel about it.
And you spend a lot of time studying these people too. So it has to feel, I would think, much more large than it maybe is. But I mean, to your point, so we're recording this again. It's October 26th. By the time people are listening, God knows what's going to happen this week. But we've just had a situation where Trump went on Joe Rogan and talked for 3 hours and just rambled on, apparently. I think having to listen to Trump talk to Joe Rogan for 3 hours is actually a violation of the Geneva Conventions. So I'm not gonna go there. Then he got on a plane at the starting time for one of his rallies that was in Traverse City, Michigan. So he was in Texas and had to fly there. People were waiting for 3 hours and pouring out and getting sick and tired of waiting and left. And then he comes on stage and just sort of sways there back and forth like a skyscraper in the wind while the weird, creepy music plays that I'm told is the theme song for The Undertaker, who I believe is a professional wrestler. So that's where we're at right now. And people are somehow looking at this guy and being like, I don't know, inflation. Or, you know, got to protect the border.
The price of milk.
Yeah, but I think you're right. Like the dwindling crowd sizes perhaps are suggestive of a lack of popularity. And the polls, I don't even know what they're doing. And I think that the media people just want the guy around for whatever reason. I don't know if they're being told by their overlords to do it or what. It's very strange. So who do you want to talk about first? You want to talk about Musk or do you want to talk about Flynn?
Decisions.
Or do you want to talk about neither?
I never want to have to talk about them again. So DOJ, if you're listening. No, let's go Musk, because when you're talking about swaying on stage, I was thinking of his crop top. So I guess we'll start there.
Why does he wear that? I mean, this is the richest man in America, and he can't afford a T-shirt that covers his belly. It seems a little bit ridiculous to me. I don't know. I get, LB sort of told us on the show last night that the jump like that is because he's making an X with his body. which I don't even know what to say about that. I feel like we should just get rid of the letter X completely from the alphabet.
Sure.
We don't
I
really
mean, we
need
don't
it.
need it.
Let's let this guy take it. So lots of different things just in the last couple of days have come out involving Elon Musk. First,
right.
The head of NASA has come out and said, hey, maybe a guy who's this close to Putin shouldn't be, having these government contracts. And, maybe it's kind of a national security risk because, there's a big article in the Wall Street Journal about how, I think Musk and Putin communicate like you and I do. They're just signaling each other. They're just, hey, would you see this? And it said in the article that it isn't just tech stuff and political stuff. It was also personal stuff.
Just do KS.
What
Just
can they possibly
replace
be talking
X with
about?
KS.
I don't know.
It's
So
done.
what do you
Easy,
make
easy
of him?
peasy.
Like he's such an odd. I mean, aside from the personality stuff, he's such an odd fit. He's so hard to figure out because he's kind of dumb, but he's also not, and he's obviously very wealthy, and he has all these contracts and all these businesses that seem to be doing well, almost in spite of him. Is he? Do you think what's the word I'm looking for? Is he showing us an act and trying to pretend that he's a child
Make
and he's
him a new
really just
letter.
kind of this
Put 'em
nefarious,
together.
scheming guy, or is that who he is? What's your take on him?
I think he's kind of just like a juvenile
You have to think
that
outside the box.
lives in like a meme world. Like he's like the walking embodiment of a meme. I feel like he just lives, like he is a meme. And I think he's easily influenced, easily complimented, very similar to how Putin interacts, I think, probably with Trump, where you're so great, you're so powerful, and they have, those kind of tendencies to lean towards people who are approving of them or appreciative of them, and they're willing to kind of bend when people are acting that way toward them. But I think it's incredibly dangerous, obviously, that he would have a security clearance and access to information and not, respect those types of relationships with the government in a way that would be helpful to the United States and not helpful to like a foreign country. So certainly we need to, once, VP Harris is Madam President, she needs to act on that and take a look at what we're dealing with and how to move forward without these kinds of potential threats internally to our national security. Because frankly, this election to me isn't about culture wars or party politics and as much as it is about abortion, it also is, it's honestly about national security in a lot of ways, in the biggest way, I think. So that's what I'm voting for, is national security.
I think that's a really good way to look at it and a smart way to look at it because, I've been doing this since 2017, early 2017, writing about Trump and writing about the Russia stuff and the Russia connections. And everybody on their side likes to say Russia, 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 and make fun of me and people like me for pointing out all of these collusive kind of elements and these interrelationships between Trump and the Kremlin, which are there and have always been there. And were there in 2016 and have been well documented in the Mueller report and in volume 5 of the Senate report and so on. Paul Manafort was running his campaign, and Paul Manafort's right-hand man was Konstantin Kilimnik, who was and is a Russian intelligence officer, and not just any Russian intelligence officer, one who specializes in election fuckery. That's and he's giving polling data to this guy. So now Elon Musk, for all intents and purposes, is Trump's campaign manager. He is running the ground game, certainly in Pennsylvania. So, and now it comes out that he's talking all the time to Putin. That's like Manafort and Kilimnik. It's like they've leveled up in Mario Kart or something, or Pokemon or whatever, whatever game Elon Musk plays that you level up in. And, that's what's happening. There's a through line. It's like Putin says something to Musk, says something to Trump. That's what's happening. And one might say, well, they're not talking about, anything that would affect the election, but I don't know that. And for a guy that's as tech savvy as he is, I don't know that I trust Elon Musk with comms.
No.
I think, I think he's probably more Giuliani level than real spy level. So to your point,
Way to go, Val.
it is a national security thing because he controls that Starlink, which the Ukrainians are relying on, and he's using it to fuck with them. So it's very dangerous. I don't know.
When that piece came out, because I had kind of been looking into, Maria Butina had, come back to Twitter after a very long hiatus. I had remembered that Butina had done a special on Russian television about Elon Musk. And when I went back to look at it, it was back in April 2023. She went through this whole thing. It was about 20 minutes long. And she just kind of said the quiet part out loud, where it almost felt like I was listening to her direct influencers and direct operators to target Elon Musk for influence operations, because she was kind of breaking down. It was almost like a briefing, like she was giving an intelligence briefing on what you need to know about Elon Musk, what's important to us as the Russian government to focus on when it comes to Elon Musk. In particular, she talked about his relationship with the Pentagon. One of the commentators on there was talking about, that would be so great if we had somebody inside the Pentagon on our side, basically. And so I feel like when you see Elon's kind of rhetoric, escalating, for me, over a year and a half ago, you have Russian state TV kind of giving this intel briefing, and then you see that escalation in pro-Russian rhetoric, and I can't help but assume that it's not a coincidence, right? That he's, having these conversations with Putin. And at one point, Butina says, he has the Starlink, and that is something that's affecting us in our war. And in the beginning, she even says this in April 2023. In the beginning, he had agreed he was going to turn it off. But then people at the Pentagon, I guess, convinced him otherwise, essentially. And so to me, that is acknowledging that even Maria Butina knows that those conversations were being had within, Russian intelligence or with Putin or the Kremlin, that they were trying to get Elon to turn those satellites off in order for them to wage a more brutal war on a sovereign nation. So it's terrible.
I didn't realize all of that. But I think that Elon and Maria Butina would be a good couple. I think I ship that. I think they should just, get married. I think that would be cute.
Well, I will say she's still very in love with Patrick Byrne. So, Elon would have competition, I think.
Okay. Elon's great with, could we just buy it out? Two rich guys fighting over her. How romantic. It's like a rom-com, but a post-apocalyptic rom-com. So it's bringing up Maria Butina. You wrote a piece with Jim Stewartson, who has his great Substack that's, super important to understand what's going on with all this stuff. And you were writing about Butina having some sort of recruitment program where she's trying to get Americans to move to Russia.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about what that is. And I'm curious about why. Like, is this they're trying to exfiltrate people before the shit goes down? Is this an escape hatch for people? Does this mean that they know that they're going to lose? Like, what's your big picture take on it too?
Well, it's multi-pronged, I think. I think it's just a way to, delegitimize democracy, make Russia seem like a stronger, more powerful, and mostly more Christian nation, right? But also, they have lost over 600,000 Russians in their illegal invasion of Ukraine, and they need bodies. And so it would not surprise me, considering one of their target demographics is young Christian men, that those people should they decide to go and, give up their American citizenship and, become Russians, there's a good chance they could go to the front lines at some point. We already know that Russia was running, manipulative targeting in Africa for workers to build drones. We saw North Koreans, which, by the way, the Russian soldiers hate having them there with them. But I think, the move to Russia kind of concept is an information operation as well as potentially just kind of recruiting for the needs that Russia has after losing
It's a podcast, Paul. I'll link
people, in this invasion. So if I were a young man, I certainly wouldn't want to move to Russia just in case. Putin's done several conscriptions. So if I was of fighting age, it certainly wouldn't be my destination of choice.
Yeah, not speaking the language or being able to read the alphabet probably is also bad. On the other hand, these are all mostly incels, and there's probably, the male to female ratio right now, given all the deaths in combat,
Right.
is probably working in their favor, So
well, they have specific neighborhoods that they have. I don't even know if they're real, but I'm just going to assume, let's just pretend that these are real footage and all these things. But they've got these enclaves in these areas outside of Moscow in like suburban areas that are dedicated to foreigners coming to live there. So Maria Butina herself says, I'll give you language lessons. I'll teach you Russian. You just DM me on Twitter or whatever. I mean, it's really bizarre. And then what's interesting about her little project of Move to Russia is one of her counterparts that's working with her on this, which is Charles Bousman, which is somebody I've always been obsessed with ever since the January
link to the
6th
podcast
situation. His dad was like, he worked for the AP in Moscow way back. So he grew up in that area. And then he was in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. He ran some neo-Nazi websites connected to VDare and, the Sean Moons and the gun cult people and Richard Spencer, Nick Fuentes, like these were his buddies. And he was at the Capitol on January 6th. And then he fled to Russia almost immediately after shooting, a little documentary about how it was all Mike Pence's fault. Mike Pence stabbed Trump in the back, and it was the Antifa that, did all this stuff. And so he's actually teamed up with Maria Butina to recruit Americans to move to Russia. And they're starting a Christian nationalist English-speaking television show called The Russian Ark, which essentially is like, we're Noah's Ark, right? We're going to save you from the, apocalypse of democracy, and you're going to come be free in, this beautiful Christian Russian land or something. And it's just bizarre. It's just bizarre.
Should the U.S. government be encouraging these assholes to move there? Because, bye. I'm like, you want to go? I'll pay for your plane ticket. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
We don't need you.
I mean, how's Tara Reid doing? Oh, I'm sorry. I think she yells at people when they say Tara. I think it's Tara Reid or whatever.
Is that what it
She's
is?
There.
Okay. Yeah.
She's the one who accused Biden of whatever and moved to Russia. And now she works for RT. And so, it's wild. I mean, it's just wild.
Yeah. And of course, Snowden is there still because, these people, they don't want to have a trial.
Oh,
easily. They don't want to have a trial in the United States. They'd rather stay in Russia than face trial in the United States. I don't know. It's weird. Weird how that works. Okay, we have to take a quick break. We'll be right back with Gal Suburban.
Easily. I love you so much, buddy Altoids.
Okay, we're back with Gal Suburban. I want to go back in time a little bit, because last time I talked to you, you told me when you started on Twitter, which was then still called Twitter, and it was more recently than I thought. So I guess now that, whatever is going to happen is going to happen, we're ramping into, it's definitely going to be a new chapter here in whatever it is, a new season of this horrible TV show.
He hopes not either.
Since 2016. Looking back on your experience with with all of this stuff, with all of the research that you've done, the open source researching that you've done, and the people that you've met and investigated and all this stuff. What are some things that you've learned? What are lessons that you've learned, I guess, in these things, or things that have surprised you from where you started to where you are now? Or if you rather, something you wish you would have told yourself back then before you got started?
Well, something I think I wish I would have known back then was that there were people who gave an appearance as if they were fighting the same fight, but were actually there to kind of disrupt or misdirect somebody like me who was really seeking information and facts about what was happening. But I think I was able to at least get a grasp of it quickly enough, I suppose, not to end up taking part in what they're doing, right? Being able to recognize that this might, this isn't really the thread I want to follow, but I think the environment has changed quite drastically, obviously, since, Elon has taken over the platform. And I am a little concerned the post-election disinformation and misinformation that we're going to see will not suffer the same fate as a lot of the lies and fake, false allegations that were moved when you reported it back then. But I'm just grateful for everybody I've met, you and LB and Jim and just these incredible Jenny Cohn and just incredible people that have, actual patriots. That's how I see these people, that, we're a collective of people who really care about what happens, about democracy, and that still have empathy left and are really, truly just trying to say, how do I contribute to making this a better place and preserving, the freedoms that we still have in order for us to regain the ones we've lost in the last many years. So I'm just grateful to find other people who have that same mission and are willing to put their necks out and do the hard work about it. So I guess that's my answer.
Well, high five.
I think I speak for everybody that we're very grateful that you dove
you're
into the
a teddy
pool,
bear with a cannon,
which was already pretty disgusting.
The truth bombs are a lot.
To be honest, the misinformation accounts in 16, 17 were, I think people weren't as, aware that people were doing that at that time. So there was a lot of just crazy shit that happened. Again, I'm generally skeptical by nature, but it would have been better for me to be even more skeptical, I guess.
Yeah.
So you were talking about the post-election, and I think this is an important thing to talk about, and it ties into our dear friend Mike Flynn. Anyway, because he seems to be one of the leaders of this post-election environment. So. What's probably going to happen?
You and me both.
Exactly.
No.
Will he lie to the FBI this time?
Oh, no, I'm not as smart as you are. But
Kamala's going to win the popular vote by a lot. I think it's going to be. I think she's going to win the Electoral College pretty convincingly. So
I'm still waiting to see the teddy bear.
That's what happens. The Electoral College it's closer than the popular vote, but she wins A, she wins B. There seems to be plans afoot, and they're already kind of. By the MAGA, Trump, Russian people are already sort of laying the groundwork for saying that this is going to be a corrupt election, stop the steal 2.0, whatever. And in fact, you pointed out there's this document, the National Intelligence Council put out a report, that basically said that post-election operations by hostile foreign governments are going to be highly likely. And I know that when intelligence agencies say highly likely, that means that it's going to fucking happen, period. That's as high up as they go with this stuff. And that most of the disinformation stuff is going to be around illegal voting, the illegal immigrants coming to vote, and voter fraud. There's going to be fraud in the elections, and that's why Kamala won. So
proud of you, gal.
What do you think we're going to see, like on election day and beyond, based on your research and what you've read in these forums?
Yeah, and so I also listen to a lot of Twitter Spaces, they plan in the open. So it's just a matter of listening and hearing some of the consistency in messaging. And a lot of it has to do with, in my mind, I'm not as concerned about violence at the polling locations. It's more of it's more of an illusion, let's say, to people who might be watching or consuming media. But I think what they want is disruption and chaos, or the appearance of it, right? So they're kind of encouraging their voters to get a mail-in ballot and then bring it to the polling place and then confront poll workers and kind of just cause little stirs and cause little distractions. And I think they've got multiple websites that they want, their base to report instances of fraud or irregularities that you see at the polling station.
Mhm.
So essentially, that's just going to be a database where they only use it to inflate the numbers, right? They're going to say, we received 10,000 reports of, issues at the polling things. They're not going to verify any of them or need to. They just need the numbers to make a claim that this is happening. So I see a lot of that, where you're going to have individuals who, cause little ruckuses here and there at the polling locations. And then what Mike Flynn, his little tiny sidekick, Ivan Raiklin, and many others are doing is they're actually reaching out to like sheriffs. So they're big on this like constitutional sheriff concept, that they're not they don't have to answer to anybody and whatever. It's dumb. But one of the things that I heard in a lot of these spaces was, okay, if you get to the polling location and you see something that's happening, call the local sheriff and tell the sheriff you want to report identity theft. It's very weird. I don't know why they're choosing that. Maybe somebody who knows more than me might answer that. But so there's some of that, but then their main goal
No,
is,
I fell asleep.
honestly, it's just almost a replay of 2020, where
I want
they
to try
are
that
looking
though.
to
I really need to
stack
try
state
that.
legislatures with loyalists who would be willing to deny certification of the count, who might be willing to send an alternate slate of electors, and I think their main goal, frankly, is for them to succeed at not having either candidate reach 270 electoral votes, which would ultimately kick the election into a contingent election, meaning it goes to the House and you have a Republican majority, who could then select Trump regardless of the outcome. And I think that is their main focus, is to try and either get one of the swing states or any state really to decertify their election, or send those alternate slates of electors so that Harris does not reach 270, is I think the plan.
Yeah, I think you're right. From what Nina Burley told me, it's about doing it on a very granular local level and having
Right.
like county election workers who MAGA have infiltrated those positions, saying, we can't do it, and therefore, forcing the hand of the state secretaries of state. But I don't, what was I going to say? Oh, you mentioned the sheriffs.
Yes.
I don't know how it is elsewhere, but here in New York, the county sheriff is an elected official, whereas the cop is the cop, right? That's a job that you have, the police officer, and it's, you have to go to school for it and all that stuff. Sheriff, anybody can be a sheriff. You just run for sheriff. So I think in some of these red areas, the sheriff is going to be somebody who is on their side politically. And because they actually run for office and they are, in effect, politicians somewhat, that seems to be the logic of it, insofar as there is logic. I don't know if it's going to work, but, they do watch, though. The cops do watch. Like I know the chief of police here because we coach basketball. And he called me one time. This is just around 2020. Maybe it was even before that. It was like, there's this event coming up that, this rally thing or this event that's, it's political, it's Trump related. and kind of went through it. And I didn't know what he was talking about. And then I realized that he was talking about something that had happened like 2 years before that I had organized. It was the kind of like thing, I think a year after, right when Trump was doing the thing where he was, trying to deport people, basically.
Oh, right.
Local,
the Muslim
like when
ban?
first, like around that time. So we organized it in that sense. And this is like a year after that. And the police are still looking at this and making calls to check out what's happening. So, I don't think it's necessarily bad or good, but it's definitely been happening. So that's one thing that, people do know. Law enforcement knows what's going on if they're good. So I don't know, these election things or the polling places things is a little bit scary, but but maybe not.
I would say the most concerning thing to me is that it's the same plan, which only really means that they've worked out some kinks, right? So they're not necessarily running a new play. So they've been practicing this play. But I do think people like Mark Elias and Democracy Docket and several other organizations and even the secretaries of state themselves recognize what is coming. And, just as a positive example, just this week in Pennsylvania, I saw there's like a viral video going around where somebody was like ripping up ballots or whatever. And I kind of just decided, you know what, it's not enough today in this environment, particularly on Elon's Twitter, to just post and say, hey, this is going on. So I actually emailed, I figured out, from the video where they were trying to target. And I found it was like the Yardley Bureau in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. So I found the election office there and I emailed them. And I said, here's the video. I archived the video. Here's the link for the archive. If you've already made a statement, just direct me where to find that. I'm sure my email had nothing to do with it. But only a few hours later, the county put out, an announcement debunking the whole video, explaining it. And then what was even more shocking that we haven't seen in previous years was the ODNI, FBI, and DHS put out a joint statement specifically about that video. So I feel like their reaction time has, they've recognized that, public transparency of what they know and what we need to know is more important than some of maybe what has held them back from making statements sooner than they have. So my hope is that this week was an example of how they plan to tackle some of this disinformation that will be coming down the AI videos, because that was actually found to have been AI by a Russian intelligence unit. I think it's called like Storm 1516 or something, that had created this video. And it was, sent through QAnon accounts and others and went viral.
I got to keep up on Signal.
I was really pleased to see that. And I hope that continues when we have these instances of, viral kind of allegations. But I think they will. I think they know what they're up against much more now.
Paul, it's going to be
Ray
okay. I think it's amazing you gave that up.
About it, which
that's
surprised
amazing.
Me because
that's one of the hardest things to turn away from.
And saying he's going to act
stronger
upon
than
that's great. There's a guy that used to be, I think he was in the sheriff's office in Palm Beach, Florida, moved to Russia, and he's now doing these deep fakes over there.
Dogan. I
don't have anything I wouldn't tell my mom.
I actually came across him at the
so.
beginning. It was crazy. At the beginning of the invasion, when Russia was attempting to, essentially tell a story to the West about how the reason they had to do this, strategic military operation was there were these bio labs. Do you remember that? The bio labs?
Yeah.
That's how I came across that guy. That guy was propagating part of the bio labs theory on all these kind of right-wing, not like Fox. I'm talking like real dark right-wing stuff that, Telegram and Rumble and shit like that. And his name came up there. He was one of their biolab guys. And so for it to take, I mean, that just kind of shows you how long it takes, I think, unfortunately, to really get this information to the public, which I think is my current biggest issue with what is happening, is that I feel like there's enough information out there that the public can and should know, and we don't necessarily have somebody like Trump did. He took advantage of COVID in that way. He had a press conference every single day leading up to the election. He just said the craziest shit, right? But like, I feel like we could have some kind of communication to the public where people are being told about this stuff, I think is the most important thing.
It would be, no, it would be nice. Now, what's funny to me is that if everything goes the way that they plan, and they really are planning another thing to disrupt, another, not a besieging J6, but a situation where they want to send the fake electors and stuff. I mean, has somebody like told them that, not to spoil the plan, that the person who is that they need to certify ultimately their fake slate of electors is the sitting vice president of the United States, Kamala Harris?
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, sometimes they miss steps in their process, when planning. So, but I do think, I think we'll see, now everybody recognizes that January 6th is an important day in the election process that otherwise they wouldn't have known. But what Ivan Raiklin is specifically doing is, like you said, it's localized. So, Flynn's motto is local action, national impact, right? Which is basically what ISIS did. But, so Ivan is gaming out for all of the base, their base. What days do the electors meet in each state? What days do the state legislatures get sworn in, like the new people that are coming in, so that they can kind of go rally at these state capitals at their swearing in ceremonies and convince them that, okay, now that you're part of the state legislature, here's what we need you to do for us, and put pressure, their quote pressure campaigns, which are really just threats and intimidation. But I think it'll be more state by state kind of attack or pressure, rallies, protests, that kind of thing. I think that they are going to spread it out, and it's less likely to culminate on the 6th with what we saw before. I think they're going to localize those actions more and try and, not let it get to the 6th. They want to, in the December timeframe, be able to,
that's what I was going to say,
tie one of those up with a bow.
Every day's a new day.
Yeah. And you mentioned before the House of Representatives and kicking an election there. And something that I learned that I think is important.
All right, enough with the help hi-fi. Nobody needs people. All the advice. Okay, so let's just
if there's more
back on the advice.
Just so if there's more states that are red than blue, then that's how it's going to fall. It doesn't matter if New York is more blue and California. It doesn't matter. It goes only that way. So that's something else to keep track of. So again, we're recording this on the 26th, which means that tomorrow there's a big Nazi rally at Madison Square Garden in New York City. I don't like to talk about stuff so much that is already going to have happened when this plays, but have you looked at the guest list for this thing? Because
I did.
It's just asshole central. It's really Tucker.
It's just Kremlin central.
Elon,
I mean, it's so Kremlin.
Yeah. It's almost comical.
Adjacent.
And
let's not,
it's very comic book villainy. And in the movie, The Batman, that does end with Madison Square Garden getting blown up, by the way. Did you know that?
Oh. Wow.
It's Gotham Square Garden, but it is, I mean, even the logo is the same. And so I'm like, did Trump see the movie? Because it's not maybe, and he wants to do this because, they did it in 1939 at MSG, different location of Madison Square Garden, where the Bund and all these American Nazis came out. And, one thing I think that we've learned, or that I've learned in this time, is that there's more Nazis here than I thought. It's kind of disappointing, but, and at that time there were a lot more, after the war, it became harder to, I think, justify it. But, leading up to the war, there was a lot of Nazi sympathies in the United States. certainly.
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
that's right. A lot
Well,
of
they
people
found
do
a way
that.
to create an anti-government movement.
I think it's just a
by,
personal journey.
I guess, picking at those
You
little
need to
grievances.
just find whatever
and
strength
throughout
you
that
have
kind of
that day to
process of
do what you need to do for you.
radicalization, it's not that they were necessarily Nazi to begin with. It's a process that usually starts with some kind of grievance, like a anti-government type, sentiment. And when you think about when his first rally was at Waco, his last rally right before the election will be like a recreation of this, America First, the Boone rally. Then I think it tells its own story. And if people aren't willing to read that story in the in the bright letters, and bright lights that it's glaring at us, we're not going to be able to
Butterflies, how does that math work?
convince anybody of that. But I think enough people see it now, finally. I don't know that if it's too late. I would hope not, but I think we're starting to see the conversation shift in a more honest and direct
It was weird,
way
Jim.
to the public that they really need to know in order to not vote against their own interests and against democracy. But we'll see.
At this point, Trump can't be more Hitler-like unless he invades Poland. I think he's
Well, he
he's
needs
on
to
that
grow
track.
a mustache.
Yeah,
I don't think he can. I don't think he probably can.
No, I don't think he can. Although Don Jr. Has the beard, so they both of those kids have the the incel beards going. So
adorable.
Yeah, it's so okay. Like Mike Flynn, who again is a retired lieutenant general who had to was fired and let go in disgrace as the national security advisor and all this other stuff. Wound up getting convicted or pled guilty and then tried to retract the plea.
He is pretty
and then,
hairless.
He got
Gal.
pardoned by Trump and now he's back. There's all this talk about assassinations that's come up. Like I know that you've done a lot of work on this, pointing it out. Like him and Ivan Raiklin and some Alex Jones. They just keep talking about.
No, they don't. There's a difference.
Yeah, even Elon
we can
Musk
tell the
and
difference.
Tucker Carlson, when they were on that stupid thing that they did a couple weeks ago, Musk said, "Why is nobody trying to assassinate Kamala?" And then they all laugh like it's funny. So what? And I've seen, that stupid picture where he's bleeding. It's I just think it's such a dumb photo, but I've seen it weaponized and used as basically as propaganda where they're trying to, I guess, make him seem heroic. But why do they keep talking about this? Why are there all these assassins suddenly? And why are they keep doing it on Sunday during the football games? Because nobody's paying attention.
Yeah. Choose a different day of the week. No, I mean, this is obviously just kind of speculation and everything, but part of me thinks that when JD Vance became, the vice presidential nominee, they realized, our candidate kind of sucks and he's got a lot of baggage and he's super old, and then you had obviously, Biden hand the reins to Harris. So I get a sense that the people that are, even Elon, I don't think he likes Trump. I think he likes JD Vance. So I think that there's an element of that where it's like wishful thinking, talking out loud. And then at the same time, I think it's stochastic terrorism. I think that there's an element where if you seed the ground for violence enough, violence will sprout up. So, most of the people that they have either eliminated or detained for these kind of acts of violence against Trump are not left wingers, right? They're not pro-democracy advocates. At least you can say that. I don't even know if maybe some are left, but there are people on the left who are not pro-democracy. And I think we need to remember that, right?
Yeah.
And those are target audiences, people who have that anti-government sentiment and that can be driven to violence to meet that ends. And there's a lot of talk of kind of this concept of revolution, right? Jack Posobiec and all these people, they want to create this kind of like heroic, manly fight for their like whiteness or whatever. And I think that they just rally people up and hope that something pops off. But also, I think I keep asking, and I hope somebody eventually asks. Maybe they won't in the next week or so. But who would JD Vance pick to be his VP? Right? It would have to be approved, obviously, by Congress. But who would be in the running for him? And I would be very curious. I wouldn't be surprised if it was somebody like DeSantis, honestly. And so I think part of it is just that they know their candidate sucks, and they could get a lot more fascist shit done with somebody like JD Vance and the Project 2025 crew and the oligarch boys or whatever. I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of it too is hype, right? Keeping their voter base engaged. It's also meant for turnout, right? Creating this kind of martyrdom complex for this guy and making him into something he isn't, hero or strong or courageous, or he's none of those things. So I think a lot of it is just rallying the base, because I think they know that, number one, women are going to show the fuck up and they're going to vote because we're dying. People are dying. And I think they know young people are going to vote. So they need their base to stay engaged in the conversation, stay engaged in the, propagating disinformation, and fear is their driver. So if somebody's shooting at their candidate, it's a really good driver for voters. And so I think that's part of it.
No, I think that all makes sense. And the JD Vance piece is interesting. And I was talking about this long before he was chosen, when at the live show that I did with Allison Gill that LB and I did in New York, we were talking about who he might pick as VP. And Vance is a fascist. Like, he is one of these dark Enlightenment, Curtis Yarvin guys who believes in the Red Caesar and wants, that for America. That's who he is. He's on record saying this. There's been reporting about it. I'm not making it up. And that's who the guy is. So Trump he has strongman tendencies, but he's not interested in the government functioning as a dictatorship per se. He's just interested in doing what he wants and having people
and
pay attention
staying
to him.
Out of jail.
All that stuff. But I think Vance, to your point, is interested in that. He is interested in turning this into, certainly some kind of oligarchy where a select few of his buddies own all of the resources and all of the companies, and the rest of us are just peasants.
I don't know, Jim.
If there's no more elections, JD Vance is 40 years old, and we're going to get 20, 25 years of this asshole. And I think I've already had enough of him. I don't necessarily want that. And what I was saying then was that Trump should keep this in mind, because
but isn't dark enlightenment an actual term versus like dark Brandon and dark MAGA and all that nonsense?
He's no longer necessary, and he should know that. They'll probably just 25th him almost immediately if he even gets to the swearing in. They'll say, "Oh, this can't be. We have to." And then he's going to have to pick a vice president, I guess, or he won't. I don't know.
Or he won't. I guess that's a good point.
That's what I was predicting. I said at the thing, like, who will Trump pick? I said, maybe, I don't think he's going to pick anybody. Does he have to? Is it written in the law that he has to pick a vice president? We've certainly had periods in American history where there's not been a vice president. If vice president moves up and there's not enough time or whatever. It's happened before. Plenty, actually. Not recently, but it's happened before. And then it just would become the Speaker of the House, unless they change it and they just make the
so
new
it was a
order would be president,
it was like,
and then
get
Alien
the 4chan
Cannon, and
kids.
then somebody else. I guess Clarence Thomas. Would they just name people? That's the other thing. We haven't talked about the court, but like, if all of this gets sued and goes to the Supreme Court, and we have a Bush v. Gore kind of redo here, where it's Trump v. Harris or Harris v. Trump, not to give out any spoilers here, but the Supreme Court will vote for Trump.
Right. Oh, yeah.
They just did when they removed 1,600 voters from Virginia. So you foretold the future.
We'll get lucky and be able to go on the side that isn't overtly fascistic, but that's what would happen if it went to the Supreme Court.
We have a lot of healing and a lot of housekeeping to do when Madam President takes office. There's a lot, we don't need to Steve Bannon everything and deconstruct the administrative state. But we do need to take a look at the things that are reasonable to be upset about, that create that anti-government sentiment that allows for people to fall into these radicalization paths. And I think when we can work toward more transparency, more public communication, and just making life better for people. I like her messaging on the middle class, and wages and things like that, because the less people in a country suffer, the less they're susceptible to strongmen and authoritarians like Trump, like Vance, and these other people. And the stronger they are unified to push back against it, if it should, rear its ugly face again, which it will, because there's always going to be people who rise up and try and capture power without earning it. And so the more informed the public is, the easier it is for them to organize and unify in a message that can prevent that from happening. So we have a lot of things that we need to do, but baby steps. First, we got to vote.
Yeah,
right?
first we got to vote. Then we got to expand the court, and then we have to make DC and Puerto Rico a state, and then we need to go in there and end the filibuster. There's a lot of things they can do if they're willing to get creative. And I've said this before, but, the one thing that Trump did that I think was, I don't want to say it was good, but it was successful as president, is that he tried stuff. He experimented for evil, but he definitely tried things. He would say, like, do we have to do this? Okay, then we're not doing it. And I think, FDR did that. He tried a lot of things, and some things worked and some things didn't. But he was constantly experimenting. And I feel like we're in another moment like that now. And Biden has gotten a lot of stuff done, for sure. His accomplishments have been vast, particularly on the domestic front. But he hasn't, I don't think, carved out a new path and a new kind of 21st century vision for
governing.
For governing. And I think that's what needs to happen. We need to kind of like say, all right, it's almost like, how every once in a while, like a soda company will redo the logo.
Oh, right.
It's like that. We need the logo to be tweaked. It's an old logo.
The clear Pepsi.
Yeah. Yeah. And we don't want it to be a retro logo from 1890. We want a new modern logo.
We don't want the old Confederate one. Yeah.
That's not the
best
kind of thing line, gal.
That we want. So, and we need better people. We need Tish James as Attorney General, please, and not this Merrick Garland guy. How's your Merrick Garland? What's your thoughts on him these days?
My Garlandometer. My Garlandometer is on like screaming fire alert. Like, I'm frustrated. I respect the rule of law and all of that, but man, that guy needs to communicate. I mean, just like I was saying earlier, if I understand, okay, if there's not indictments to be, dished out today for Flynn or Rakelin or all these fucking tenant media people, the Russian proxies, Jack Posobiec, all of these people, at least come out and tell people what's going on. Yeah. It's not, I guess DOJ says they speak through their indictments or whatever.
That's stupid.
But come on, you just need to speak, because I think we already know there's, I don't know what the number was 600 Americans that potentially have been paid by the Kremlin to propagate disinformation to Americans, covert influence operations, which, Heidi Kudo likes to say, covert influence operations are not journalism, right? And so we have all these people, gaslighting as, journalists that are actually just propagating Russian disinformation. And instead of releasing those names and informing the public of who those people are, so that at least they can say, well, that's fine, I still want to watch them. Or, holy shit, I had no idea that I was, taking in all of this foreign adversary propaganda. People should be given that opportunity, right? And I don't think Merrick Garland has done the country or democracy a service by kind of maintaining optics and norms of, well, it's still in the process. we're still investigating, right? Like, people just have to have this information. And that's the difference, I think, between, the move fast, break things people and like the old kind of establishment idea. And I think we can find a mix between the two where we're not breaking shit and we're being informative and educating and then not breaking things and like fucking up investigations and such, and find kind of a happy medium where there's some of that where people can just protect themselves. Because I think that's really the most important thing, is just to know for yourself and make the choice yourself as to what information you think is credible or not. But so I think Merrick could do a lot better, even if he sends somebody else out. Maybe it's not him. Just send a spokesperson out. Frankly, I think every single day, even if nobody's watching, I would be watching, but a 30-minute briefing. Here's the disinformation of the day. Here's what's coming from the Kremlin. Here's what's coming from China. Here's what's coming from Iran. If you see some of this or some undertones of this in the information you're consuming, whether it be on social media or the news, be aware of it. This part of it is true. This part of it isn't. It's very much just kind of sitting down with somebody and saying, here's how you do this math problem, right?
Yeah.
Numerator, denominator, answer, whatever. Like I feel like that would be so much better for people. So I wish he would have somebody doing that, but we'll see.
I have an article to read to you after
we saw in
about the archives.
Like I was saying, people coming out and saying this, and this, when we have those major viral disinformation or influence operations happen. I hope we see more of that. But I think Merrick Garland missed the boat on being able to do that with a lot more time ahead of the election than just now. So
I think there's a lot of boats that he missed. I think the ferry has been going for 4 fucking years, and he's still sitting there looking at the
He's
schedule.
counting his pennies. He's like, I'm just going to make sure I have all the pennies to pay the fee.
and to your point, like we have it's not like this is a secret. Like Tish James does it in New York. She communicated to us all during this Trump thing, and it was good. And she didn't jeopardize the thing, the trial or the outcome. She just spoke. And in a kind of related way, Cuomo, when he was governor during the pandemic, came out every day at 11 o'clock and spoke. He didn't have to do that, but that's what he did. And it made a lot of people feel more comfortable.
It was amazing, actually.
He would just do exactly what you said. I'm just going to say what's going on today. He said the word ventilators a lot.
We got normality through that. There was a sense of normal.
90% of the time, he wasn't even saying anything important, but just the fact that he was up there talking.
Oh, so
matters.
weird.
And that's the thing.
Post-apocalyptic
feel. Garland and to some degree, even Biden don't understand, especially about now where everything is.
Right. We're going to read the article, Jim, from Foreign Affairs.
Video. Also,
current affairs.
About, nobody's going to read the Mueller report.
Nobody's reading. Nobody's reading. Even this report from ODNI. That I sent you before this that I'm going through, it's only 6.5 fucking pages.
And some of
nobody is going to read this,
Why is it redacted? What's redacted? What do you think are the redactions?
Probably, I mean, honestly, in some of these sections, to me, I mean, it looks like, they know some things. And they probably know some things from that Tenet Media RT indictment. Is what I'm thinking, because a lot of that redaction is there.
I just thought of this now. I wonder if, and again, for people listening, this is a 6-page thing and you're reading it and it's like anything else. There's disinformation, Russia's doing this, Iran's doing this. And then there'll be these like weird, black blocks throughout that are redacted, including the last 2 pages are like fully redacted. So it could be also a warning in a sense, like we know who you are. Like if somebody, person X is reading this, they'll be like, oh shit,
Jack Posobiec. Okay, sorry.
Right, or whoever.
I mean, if somebody came out and did like a public, a 5-minute clip or even less, and just said, "Here's the major points in this." It's called "The Foreign Threats to U.S. Elections After Voting Ends." It talks about the post-election period, to what the capabilities of our adversaries are, what their goals are, and what they seek to do, which is cause confusion and chaos and make allegations to put mistrust in the process of our elections, despite the fact that they're incredibly secure. They're not changing votes in Serbia or Germany servers and shit like that. It's all influence.
It's pronounced pussy
all
bitch.
Messaging and information operations. And they can even kind of create protests and create violence and stoke division. And that's really what they're going to be doing, and we should be looking for. But they're telling us this, and I feel like just having somebody come out and giving people the basics, even some people who aren't fully QAnon or fully, or think that Trump lost 2020 and are still going to vote for him, just knowing this will, could prevent them from getting hooked into a 2024 big lie.
Right.
Yeah. Because the information is pervasive and it's targeted to certain people, and it's framed in certain ways that resonates with those target audiences. So people are very vulnerable, and I feel like the federal government has a duty and responsibility to both the people and democracy itself to make sure that people have the tools they need to prevent themselves from being sucked into that kind of noise, but I don't know. We'll see. Maybe we'll just do it. We'll just keep doing it, Greg. You and me.
You've been doing. I was going to say the person who does it every day is you on Elon Musk's hell site, which is now called X. I guess since it sucks so bad, I can start calling it X. So you're on there. What's your handle? What is it? 5? I can never remember.
Oh, 5GW Hot Takes.
Right, 5GW. Yeah. So 5th generation warfare is what it stands for. Hot Takes.
Right.
And then, are you on Blue Sky yet?
I probably have an account there. I just don't know how to log into it. I'll find out.
I like Blue Sky. I've liked Blue Sky for a while, but I've noticed there's a lot more people coming in now to Blue Sky because I think there's always been, a big pilgrimage from Twitter, but I think Threads now sucks. I don't know what happened on Threads because I don't go on there, but like suddenly there's 200 more people following me. And I think because they just left Threads and they're off Twitter and they want to go somewhere else. So
I'm just a creature of habit, and I can't retrain my muscle memory for like where my thumb pushes on the app thing. So, I just end up back at Twitter,
No, I know it is the best place to get quick, targeted news. Although it's not as easy as it used to be, as Elon Musk intended. So,
he intends for it to get wild on that platform. I expect chaos on there.
Yeah, or it just will shut down. And that's the other thing. Elon Musk, probably an illegal immigrant, because of course, that came out too.
Oh
Washington
my gosh,
Post.
Greg! I just thought of something that would be awful for sowing chaos. Would be if Twitter just stopped working in the post-election period. That would be cray.
It would be cray.
Anyway.
I still everybody think should go to Blue Sky now.
Is the thing. That's what I'm saying. Just in case. Now, I had you on at some point, and when I was like post-COVID, and I kept you on for 2 hours, even though I thought it was only an hour because I had COVID. But now I do not have COVID, so I'm not going to keep you
next time
for 2
you're
hours
be on
today. But I thank you so much for coming on, because it's always good to talk to you and hear your take on things. And on behalf of everybody listening, we want to thank you for everything that you've done. To do the research and tell us what's going on with all these people, these really bad people who I don't like, and I don't want to hear them. You take a lot of time listening to what they say, read what they write. You interact with them sometimes on social media spaces, and it has to be, it's soul destroying on some level. So we appreciate the sacrifice that you're making for the good of democracy for all of us. So thank you.
Of course. Well, thank you. I have given your book and recommended it to so many people. So I hope that people were reading it, preparing themselves, because it really was like the perfect synopsis, what you need to know when you go to vote. Like Rough Beast it just broke it all out for you. So I hope a lot of people, read that, but it was awesome. So
thank you. I appreciate it. And again, thanks for taking the time to be with us today. Gal Suburban, see you soon.
Wow. Yay. Gosh, that was excellent, gal. Excellent. Fuck, man. I don't know if that's YouTube or Bluetooth. I'm not sure what boob tooth is. Congratulations, gal. That's amazing. That was so good. So good. Gosh, I'm so glad to hear you on that. God, you did cover a lot. It was excellent. It was excellent. Well done. Well done, my friend. You're so smart. God, I love you. All right, let me read this article about the National Archivist. The naughty girl. Yes, thank you, Paulina. Thank you. Thank you. Get this woman a fucking podcast. Now, she does a lot of work and it takes her a lot of time, so she would need support to do it. But I'm telling you right now, this woman is ready for her close-up. Really, seriously. You are ready. Okay, I'm going to make this me to be. Okay, this is about this archivist kerfuffle. Get this woman a fucking cabinet post. Put Gal in charge of disinformation monitoring. Right? That's it. Oh, excellent. Coffee in hand, peace, love. Love it, because settle in. Mama's going to read you an article. Settle in, my pets. Mommy's going to read you an article. You're not my pets. You know, I meant that in like the diminutive, not in like condescending. Please don't think. I volunteer to do the daily press conferences. Fuck yes. Fuck yes. Fuck yes. Fuck yes. Excellent idea, read DOJ doing a daily disinformation digest. It really is. It's a great idea. It's a great idea. All right, let me make this bigger for everybody. Although I kind of want to keep the fire in some way, shape, or form. Let me just, we'll do this. Here we go. I have solutions. Oops, no I don't. There we go. Then you can see the fire a little bit. A little bit. All right, so this is from Current Affairs Magazine, and it was a story that I think came out yesterday. It's going to take a constant fight to preserve the historical record. Yeah, it was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday on Halloween. All right. Oh, yeah, no, we're going to have to make that a whole lot bigger. Everybody, come on now. All of a sudden, I forgot how to make things bigger. Oops. Hello. Ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Am I just pushing the wrong button? Oh, there we go. I was pushing the wrong button. It's okay, everybody. I was just pushing the wrong button. All right. The National Archives. And let the position be called czar. Yes. The disinformation czar. Our media is a disgrace on purpose, Neil. Yeah, in Canada, yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I don't know. I agree with what you said earlier, though, about Justin Trudeau being good when he just, like, says it out. I do agree. Okay, let's read this article. The National Archives Museum is backsliding into a sanitized mythological retelling of American history. Don't assume truth will prevail, by Nathan Robinson from yesterday. It was so big. The Wall Street Journal has an incredible story today. The National Archives Museum, under Biden-appointed U.S. archivist Colleen Shogan, has been working to reshape its narrative of American history in order to make white conservatives more comfortable. The journal describes a pattern of efforts to shape its newest upcoming exhibits to better fit right-wing narratives of U.S. history. The museum has removed references to Martin Luther King Jr., Japanese internment, Native Americans, union organizers, and birth control, because presenting American history honestly would make Republicans upset. Mayorkas responds to new disinformation board being compared to 1984. Oh. They ham-handed that whole thing. It was just terrible. Let's see. Make him say, The changes to the new exhibits are remarkable. A photo of King was replaced with one of Richard Nixon meeting Elvis Presley. A proposed exhibit exploring changes to the Constitution since 1787, including amendments abolishing slavery and expanding the right to vote, was reduced in size, and employees were told that focusing on the amendments portrayed the Founding Fathers in a negative light. Shogun told employees to remove Dorothea Lange's photos of Japanese American incarceration camps from a planned exhibit because the images were too negative and too controversial, according to the documents and current and former employees and her aides, who also asked staff to eliminate references about the wartime incarceration from some educational material. An exhibit on coal communities cut references to the environmental hazards caused by the mining industry. Shogun's aides also, I'm sorry I call her Shogun, it's probably like Shogun or something. Shogun's aides also ordered the removal of labor union pioneer Dolores Huerta and Minnie Spotted Wolf, the first Native American woman to join the Marine Corps, from the photo booth, according to current and former employees and agency documents. A photo of Betty Ford wearing an Equal Rights Amendment pin was removed from a video, and in an exhibit of patents that changed the world, the birth control pill was replaced with, of all things, the bump stock. Is this real? Is this like a parody? The journal notes Shogun's changes have delayed the opening of new exhibits initially set for next summer and are expected to add at least $332,000 to costs. The explicit justification here was that the facts would hurt the feelings of guests who didn't want to hear about union organizers and Native Americans. Visitors shouldn't, quote, feel confronted, the archivist said, but rather welcomed. Of course, Japanese Americans or Native Americans are unlikely to feel confronted by exhibits on their history, so the archivist was clearly referring to making white conservatives feel more at ease. In fact, an employee was specifically told to look for success stories about white people. What? And, looking over an exhibit about westward expansion, Shogun asked a staffer, "Why is it so much about Indians? This isn't real, right? This can't be real." Essentially, the National Archives Museum is becoming a tribute to supposed American greatness rather than an honest account of all aspects of our history. It might be surprising that this is occurring under a Biden appointee, but it's clear that Shogun is intensely worried about being accused of partisanship. When she was appointed, Josh Hawley called her an extreme partisan, and Republicans warned that they would be watching closely for signs that she was pulling the independent agency to the left. Here we see an example of Republicans working the ref. As Pete Davis has explained, in sports, this concept refers the tactic of accusing the referee of being biased toward your opponent in the hope that the referee will start being biased toward you to make up for it and disprove the accusation. As Davis wrote in 2018, in institutional politics, the right-wing establishment has honed the working the ref into an art form. It's a two-part dance. First, they take institutions that see themselves as neutral referees and accuse them of having left-wing bias. Then they repeat themselves over and over and over again, no matter what the truth of the matter is, until the institution is so rattled by being called biased that it, in an attempt to affirm its neutrality, starts doing whatever the right wing wants. Dozens of institutions that see themselves as referees have been worked. PBS has long been accused of being left-wing, so it finally gave in this year and launched its own conservative talk show. The New York Times, the Washington Post, the Atlantic editorial boards got accused of being left-wing so much that they just went on a hiring spree for conservative columnists. The Obama administration so internalized the accusation of being left-wing that it started implementing conservative agenda items like cutting entitlements and deporting thousands of American families to prove its neutral bona fides. Bona fides, however you say that. She's going to win Michigan, that's right. The case of the National Archives is similar. Alarmed about the possibility of being seen as woke or partisan, Shogun is purging the museum of everything that could substantiate such an allegation, such as exhibits that treat Native Americans, Japanese Americans, and civil rights activists as human beings with valuable and important stories. Of course, trying to appease the right is a fool's errand, because the right is never going to say, oh, actually the Biden-appointed archivist is quite good at her job and very fair-minded. They consider anything that doesn't fully support their agenda to be pernicious leftism. So Trump will likely still want to replace Shogun with full-blown MAGA archivist who puts up exhibits honoring the great contributions of real estate developers to American history and builds a shrine to the memory of Ronald Reagan. The correct stance for an archivist is to be committed to telling a truthful story that reflects what actually happened, even if this makes some people uncomfortable because there are truths they would rather block out of their understanding of the country's past. At the National Archives, it's not just that a story more favorable to white people is being told, it's that dark subjects are being avoided. Even the Holocaust has been downplayed. A gallery exhibit on how the National Archives have been used included, as an example, how public records had been used to return assets to Jews after the Holocaust. Employees were told that the Holocaust story needed to go as part of the effort to focus on lighter moments in U.S. history. Those are quotes. I was struck by something similar when I visited the National World War II Museum, which also de-emphasizes the Holocaust, as well as declining to show its visitors anything gruesome. That museum also sells a triumphant and cheerful story about America, one that won't cause visitors to have to experience much discomfort. The World War II Museum does, to its credit, include an exhibit on Japanese internment. It is a constant struggle to get stories of oppression and injustice to public attention because these stories are depressing and unsettling. Sometimes they raise harsh questions that many people would rather not have to answer, such as, if this is how it was, doesn't that make you the beneficiary of a terrible injustice? The backlash to the 1619 Project, for instance, went far beyond a mere scholarly critique of the project's findings. The right launched an entire presidential commission, the 1776 Commission, with the aim of producing a counter-narrative that could keep Americans from having to feel troubled by the history of racism. The resulting 1776 report carefully sanitized American history in exactly the way the National Archives is doing. For instance, by falsely portraying Martin Luther King Jr. as an exponent of colorblind politics and declining to tell readers what his real views were. Others have similarly misrepresented King, but hey, at least they didn't just replace him with a picture of Elvis. Since the 1960s, there has been heroic effort by scholars and activists to get Black Americans, women, Native Americans, LGBTQ+ people, and workers included in mainstream historical narratives. That effort has been partly successful, although many liberal historians still have major blind spots. Books like A People's History of the United States aim to keep the ugly side of our history in view to prevent us from lapsing into cheerful mythology. That's also what Noam Chomsky and I have tried to do in The Myth of American Idealism, which forces readers into a confrontation with the disturbing realities of U.S. foreign policy. There will always be a backlash to these efforts. There will be attempts at banning books, at pressuring museum curators to dial back the woke stuff. There's no guarantee that historical knowledge will survive or be widely understood. Librarians, archivists, curators, and historians all have essential work to do in guarding the truth and making sure it is not replaced with mythology. The National Archives story shows how little we can count on liberals, on anyone. Well, we'll just replace that word with anyone to maintain their commitment to this mission. All right. Oh, Ellis Brockman. Here we go. There's an update. Ellis Brockman, senior advisor to the archivist, who's accused in the Wall Street Journal story of having complained about excessive wokeness, spiked the mention of the Holocaust and cut references to environmental damage, emailed me to say that the Wall Street Journal story is inaccurate. While not providing any evidence to refute any of the journal's reporting, Brockman told me that, quote, balance was missing in the early planning of some of the new galleries here, and we have had to make some difficult decisions during the planning process. Unfortunately, he writes, some did not appreciate that process and didn't want to do the hard work to address the nuanced and many layered facts of American history. He also argued that I had not sufficiently emphasized that the exhibits in question have not been open to the public yet, so I have updated the wording above to emphasize that these are the newest planned exhibits rather than pre-existing ones. He told me that the National Archives is willing to confront hard truths, assured me that there is still a photo of Martin Luther King Jr. elsewhere in the museum, and cited the fact that they are adding the Emancipation Proclamation and the 19th Amendment to the archive's rotunda alongside the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights to tell a more complete story of American history. The journal has thus far not retracted any of its reporting. So, a different voice, but I think an important voice to hear. I really appreciate that. I don't know. I don't understand. See, this is why I feel like, gosh, this is so hard to believe that someone would be so completely blind and so knee-jerk reaction. That's what I don't really understand. But have you ever read that Lies My Teacher Told Me by James Lawson? No, I haven't read that. Looks, I'm realize I'm so far. Oh, so no worries, peace, love. Why don't they just go to Six Flags if they want a good time? So I just think it's really interesting to see. I'm curious to see how this. Oh, you're so fine, peace, love. Don't even worry. I'm so curious to see how this story plays out. Because it sounds so ridiculous that this person made this decision. I mean, like, my questions are many. Like, when was she appointed? Is this a recent change? Like, I just would need to know more information about it. But it definitely is wrong on its face. And clearly, they have no great retort to why that these things have been shared. You know, whether it's disgruntled former employees or whatever, it doesn't matter to me. If these things are actually happening, there is no explanation for it. I'm sorry. Those aren't hard decisions. Those are very intentional decisions. Give me a break. And if those are the examples that were in this article are what was planned, that's fucking ridiculous. And they know that. And so this feels very similar to me, like the mainstream media's switch over the last 8 years. Not that it was a huge switch, but I recall, and I don't know if you all feel the same, but I recall feeling that mainstream media, when we had a lot of ownership changes in the media companies or new people coming onto CNN and stuff like that, when that happened, and it's still difficult for me to see, and I don't watch very much mainstream news, so maybe it's just a function of me not being aware of what actually happens. But when I do catch glimpses of MSNBC or CNN, I am surprised that things that I think that those news people would have said 5 or 6 years ago, that they seem to not be able to say now about Trump or anything. And I know that Trump was always a cash cow for all of the media, so they all went along. But to me, they seem to be going along a little bit more these days, like Ari Melber and other people, not necessarily Nicole Wallace. She seems to be pretty confronting on things. But it just seems like, I don't know how people like that, like Ari Melber is a good example. Like, how do people like Ari Melber go from really speaking truth to power, I guess, and then going to not, right? And then not having the truth, not speaking truth to power necessarily, or playing into the clown nature of, Peter Navarro makes an admission on TV or something, like that kind of nonsense. Like the noise, the circus aspect of it. That's the same way I think of how can people like this who were appointed by Biden, so I would think have some similar commitment to, liberal democracy or whatever, to make such significant decisions like this, whether or not it's in anticipation of something is not even the point. To actually make those decisions and be okay with making those decisions about editing what our history presents or where things are placed in the museum and what's given emphasis and what isn't, right? Like that, I don't understand how a human being, right? How does Anderson Cooper do that? How does Ari Melber do that? How does Colleen Shogan do that, right? I don't understand that. Because that to me means that you've made some conscious decisions to not go as hard on Trump on TV, or to focus on the clown aspects of the stories versus what's really going on. Like, why haven't we heard about Scott Pressler and whether or not, why haven't we heard, I don't know if you guys have heard a lot about the Pennsylvania false registrations thing, but we talked about it on a previous Wake and Bake and read a lot. And frankly, I want to understand that. What is this? Trump had a big meeting in January with the major news heads. I didn't know that. The book is about how history being taught in schools. Oh, history in schools is not good. Okay, here's my speech about education. I'm gonna make a short speech about education. You need wraparound services for kids. You need counselors that follow them throughout their school life. So if it's a K to 5, then the counselor follows the class from K to 5, and then they start over again, right? So they follow the same kids. You need that type of counseling. You need wraparound services. You need more social workers. You need to remove standardized testing and allow teachers the latitude to have a curriculum that they follow, for sure. Make sure that they teach certain things. Absolutely. There's ways to do that. Super easy. But allow them more latitude on how they get media or, literacy and math skills and science exposure and all of those things, right? Those are the first few ways. If you did those things tomorrow and snapped your fingers, I almost would guarantee, in fact, I would probably guarantee you that kids would do better. And, and focus on life skills and all that kind of stuff. But get counselors that follow them within a subset of grades, whether it's K to 8. I don't give a shit. K to 6, K to 8, 9 to 12. I don't care. But it's we had it at our school. If you were a counselor and your seniors graduated, then your next year group would be the incoming freshmen, and you would follow them as their counselor all 4 years. And it was brilliant. Brilliant. You got to know the parents. You got to know the kids. They trusted them. It was a beautiful, but they were overtaxed, right? That's 100 kids. And I was a small school. So I'm not saying it's easy, but it's possible. And that's where the money in education can go. Get rid of all the administration of education. You don't need as much administration as you have. Trust me. I'm sorry, but we could probably cut administration and it would be fine. But you've got to pay your teachers. You've got to give them support. You've got to do co-teaching with special education trained teachers with standard grade teachers, teaching together in a classroom. Smaller class sizes, cut them in fucking half. You cannot have 32 kids in a classroom learning fuck all. Give them arts. Give them music. Give them yoga. Give them mindfulness. Get a social worker or 2 or 3 for your school so that the counselors have support. I'm telling you, this isn't hard. It's really not. It's expensive. I'm not saying it's not, but it's certainly, I don't even know. I haven't done the math, but it can work. There's ways. Repeal Prop 13. Fucking hell. Anyway, okay, that's my speech. Sorry. Yeah. DNI is bad as Newsmax info. But yeah, Putin's propagandists. They really are. Hi, Teresa. How are you? I was just giving my little speech about education, which is, I'm sure it's half-assed. And frankly, of course, everything isn't fair. I just think there's some basics there that I know. I've seen them work. I've just seen them fucking work. And I really think it could work. If it can work in Brooklyn, it can work anywhere. And give kids some choices, right? Give them some fucking choices. Like the other after-school program I was involved in was focused entirely on girl-led social change. Girls identifying what the issue is in their community and creating some kind of social change project around that issue that they lead and they design. It increases their agency. It increases their sense of self. It increases their sense of power in a powerless world. I'm telling you, I've seen it. Ah! It is beautiful. It's beautiful to see girls come around an issue and girls who don't know each other or maybe don't even like each other, But having to compromise with each other and just held in that space and allowed to do that with guidance by adults. Adults were there to guide the process, and just help kind of create some guardrails or guide conversation. But the girls were the ones making the decisions. And sometimes that's the only place they had any kind of decision making in their lives. And I think decision making and the ability to feel like you control something about your life is really important for teenagers, because they typically don't. Anyway. And it worked for boys too. I ran a program actually with some with boys at a high school in East Palo Alto that was for kids that were basically with ankle bracelets, and they were fantastic. They were fucking fantastic. Well, I have some thoughts about teachers unions too, but I am fully union supportive. But I think that teachers unions need to be revised a little bit. They make it really hard to be part of the union. I don't know. It's kind of a mess. And the pension system is a mess. That needs to be refined. I don't know. There's a lot of problems. But I think you have to try something. And I'll tell you right now, if you start with those things I talked about, with the wraparound and the literacy and the, creativity and not teaching to a test, I bet you we'd have a lot more literate kids, a lot more literate adults. But anyways, what do I know? I'm just the high girl. So anyways, well, what a morning. Oh my God. Gal Suburban, you have lifted me up. Yes, it was known as the Hood, but it was just another neighborhood. Yes, there's a great school actually out there that was for kids that had were on parole, basically, or on supervised release or whatever with the ankle bracelets. They were great. I mean, I love. There's something about kids that have gotten in trouble that they, for the most part, I feel like they just want to be heard. They just want to be heard. I mean, don't all kids just want to be heard? That's what I think. I think kids just want to be heard. Yeah. But yes, thank you, Gal. That was absolutely uplifting. I'm ready for the 5th. Oh, by the way, I'm going to spend hours with you, hopefully, on election day. I'm going to start in the afternoon, and then we'll continue on until the bitter end. Damn it. Anyway, so come to Lolo for your election coverage. And don't make schools pay for fucking facilities. Take that out of school budgets. Figure out a way to do that. Figure it out. That should be figured out, because there's too much nonsense that goes on in facilities within public schools. Damn it. I do feel sorry for school boards. Yeah. Yep. Yes, we are going to be open. The lounge will be wide open on election night, so don't miss it. We're going to win, babes. I love Greg's breakdown. If you didn't hear the podcast that we played earlier in this show, please roll back and play that. It's so good. There's also a link to it so that you can go directly to the podcast. Take the highway to Lolo's Lounge. Oh my gosh, EPA is a wonderful place. I actually love East Palo Alto very much. So go left, Lolo's Lounge. Wah, wah, wah. Come on down to Lolo's Lounge and watch the election. But I'll link everything we did today in the description of this video. So please, come. Yeah, they do. They have to negotiate their own fucking. It's a bad. I mean, it's factored into their budget. Let's put it that way. Let's put it that way. It's dumb. It's dumb. Yeah, so it takes it out of your budget. It's bad. It's bad. I know you grew up in Oakland, Oaktown, in the house. I worked in Oakland for a little bit. I lived in the Bay Area, East Bay, but I worked in Oakland. I love Oakland. Oh, Atherton. Very nice. Very nice in Atherton. No, it's beautiful. It's such a beautiful area. Such a beautiful area over there. You're so welcome. Thank you, butterflies. Yes. Well, we're going to win, and it just might take a minute, so don't worry about it. It's all good. Greg told us. So do listen to the podcast. Excellent podcast with Greg Olear, who's amazing. And tonight is the 5-8. So please join the 5-8 tonight on YouTube. You can find a link in my preferred subscriptions on my YouTube page if you scroll down to the bottom. And so check out the 5-8 tonight with Greg Olear and enjoy the podcast Greg gave us with him and Gal Suburban, our own beautiful Gal Suburban this morning, which we listened to. Link will be there. But have a great Friday. Oh, tonight. No. Tonight at 7:30 Pacific, 10:30 Eastern, I'm going to be playing on Discord. Sorry about Discord, but that's the best way to do it. I'm going to be playing Howard Hawks' The Thing, the original movie The Thing, in honor of Samhain or Halloween or whatever you want to call it, because every day is Halloween. So I'm going to play that tonight. No commentary, just the straight up movie. So please join us for that. Please, I'll put up a link to that Discord room and also reminders that, oh, no problem, Lee. Oh, Red Wings. That's so much fun. That's so much fun. Yeah, we'll have the special guest that was due to come to the show last night will be coming to Saturday's show. So Lee, I'll clip that so that you get to see who the special guest was. And let's see. Yeah, I think that's about it. Oh, yeah. And tomorrow, no, wait, today's Friday. So tomorrow. Yeah. Oh, and during the day tomorrow, I am going to go to Beverly Hills as the dinosaur. It's going to get a little rough because that's their MAGA rally day. So we'll see how it goes. Anyway. Yes, peace, everyone. Have a beautiful Friday, and I will hopefully see you tonight and tomorrow and Sunday and all kinds of just too much Lolo. Again. Okay. All right. I will. I'll figure some things out. Okay. Okay. Don't hit me. I'm an old lady. No, this is what I'm gonna have a sign. All right. Bye, everyone. Have a great day. Bye. Oops. I didn't do